And so we were in this this kind of battle, and being part of the Spartan people, there was like 300 of us warriors left over, and we're talking about 2,000 years ago now, so this was quite a long time ago. So I'm having problems remembering it, but we basically had to like protect this pass to stop the Persians getting in and attacking all of Greece, and they had a god king and everything. It was a whole huge battle, and the thing we tried to focus on most of all was the fact that they just could not get past. They were not allowed past. It was our duty to protect the whole of Greece from them. Many people died. Very few people survived, but almost all of them got a hero's burial. We had a rule that if you didn't get to walk home yourself, you got carried home on your shield, so it was fight to the last man. So there we go.
That's some information, Jay.
Right?
That is some information. That's rough. That tugs at the old heartstrings, you know.
Yeah. It was a difficult time back then. Difficult times. But here we are. We're now in the more modern era, and we're going to talk about keyboards, I believe, which is a real turn of pace. So
we're gonna mix it up. Actually, we're gonna talk all about cars instead today, Jay.
Excellent. Yes, that's my other good hobby. All right. Okay. Cool.
We should do that too. We should just also have a car show on the same channel.
On the same channel. Yeah. Top Clack and we need something.
I'm sure that would go over well.
Yeah, Top Clack and Pistons or something like that. We'd think of something. I'm sure there'd be something.
Oh, we could call it Top Gear.
Oh, Top Gear. That'd be a great idea.
That's brilliant,
that
right?
Really works. That really works. Yeah.
Eskimojo says Top Honk. I like that one too.
Top Honk. Harry Potter asking if it was a history lecture. No, but can anyone guess the film? Can anyone guess the film?
I think you said the name of the film like twice in that rin.
I said it at least once. Yeah, it was 300. Yeah.
Cease and desist incoming. Don't worry, we're not actually gonna call it Top Gear. We'll go with Top Honk. I like that. Top Gas.
Honk, yeah.
Oh man.
Yes.
Too good, man. Grundy, thank you so much for the Twitch Prime, man. Appreciate that.
Christopher says, "Please, Quakums, please save me from Jay's ISO streams." Man, no ISO hate, no ANSI hate. Use what you like, man. That's the whole point of the hobby.
That's right. We're open-minded here at Top Clack. Open-minded. But don't worry, I have non-ISO streams coming up. You don't have to deal with it that much longer.
Fair enough. Lodestone Proto soon.
Do you build your Legos in ISO also? Is there like
I wish we could.
A new way to do Legos that's just ISO compatible?
Sure, yeah, we should patent that. I'm sure there'll be a huge market for it. Top Clack goes both ways. It's very true. It's not untrue.
That's right, man. Try everything once, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Twice if you
can't put it down if you've not tried it, right?
Yeah.
You can't,
experience and knowledge are power.
Sure.
Speaking of power, though, Bearded Nut Inc. is donating 100 bits. Thank you so much for that, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate that. Jaycon does say Lodestone Proto soon. So I have the prototype. It's in a box just beside of me. I have the prototype. There may be a stream coming at some point soon. There may be some more prototypes being made. There may be lots of things. So yeah, keep watching. Keep watching.
There may be things.
I
love that information. Love that information. Eskimojo, thank you so much for that tier 1 sub, my friend. Bless up indeed.
13 months. Wow.
That's
huge.
Yeah, that's over a year. You had a Top Clack baby 4 months ago.
Yeah, and you just had your first birthday.
Don't come to us for child support, please. Top Clack is not responsible for Top Clack children.
George subscribing for 10 months as well says, nice. Thanks, man. We really appreciate that, sir.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, so just as is tradition, we're live a little bit early for a bit of a pre-show, making sure everything's going all right. Letting you guys kind of get in here before we say anything terribly important. Though I'm sure everyone is going to be sad they missed Jay's 300 monologue.
Hey, to be fair, I thought that with the 15-second prep time, I did all right.
Yeah.
Trying to remember how I thought I did all right.
You never don't impress me, Jay. You're constantly...
You have a really low bar.
I have a very low bar. Yeah, I have a very low bar. I'll be honest. The bar's quite low. It doesn't take a whole lot to impress me a lot of the time.
Yeah, clearly, if I impress you all the time, clearly. Yeah. Especially at Keyboard Jeopardy, Christopher says, yeah.
Hey,
yeah,
we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
The people that understand truly understand. And that's all I'm going to say about
that. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Sometimes you gotta take risks, Jay. Come on. Sometimes
you gotta take risks.
You weren't terribly impressed by my Jeopardy play.
No,
I can tell.
No. Singapore said, "How does that latte taste?" It tastes good, man. Although for me, it is 2 a.m. when I'm drinking this, so it's probably not the wisest thing to do. But it's a quadruple espresso latte.
Quadruple espresso.
Oh man, I need the coffee at this time. And normally I don't. I normally tend to drink my coffee black. I don't tend to have milk in it or put lattes in it, or make a latte. Sorry. But at this time in the morning, it just needs that little bit of sweetness to take the edge off. Otherwise, I'd be bouncing off the walls. But yeah, I need to stay up, pulling all night tonight.
Oof, that's gonna be rough. You just got one of those pretty nice coffee machines, though, right? The BTC one that you've been talking about.
Yeah. So it's a full bean to cup Malarkey Sage Barista Pro. If anyone's interested, it was my birthday present to myself, which was good.
Nice.
Thoroughly enjoying it.
Sometimes you gotta treat yourself, you know.
Treat yourself.
Oh, no.
What's that from now? That's from a TV show.
Oh no, Osiris is in chat talking about Keyboard Jeopardy.
He was the winner of the show for me. It was Osiris. Chewy was clearly privy to your game plan. Osiris did have the.
Chewy and I are like the same person. I think we were often on the same wavelength when it comes to a lot of this stuff.
Fair enough. Osiris had that the US home advantage there as well with the lag and the ping a couple of times, which was another thing. So I think we definitely need a rematch.
We do. It was really fun though. Like all things considered,
it was hugely fun.
It was like some of the most fun I've had in a while in the keyboard hobby.
I was getting slightly drunk by the end of it as well.
I don't even.
Whiskey.
It was actually kind of funny. I didn't really think about it until today, but I was trying to like think back on some of it because someone was talking to me about it earlier, and I was like, man, I remember very little of that stream.
Yeah.
Like I remember the first like 30 minutes, like the first half of the first round, and then like after that, I don't even remember what the questions were.
It's just bits and pieces here and there. I can remember some answers and some questions. I can't remember half the stuff I said.
We were all drinking, man. We were all trying to go.
I'm pretty sure every time you got a question wrong, I finished my drink and poured another one, which was not probably the best way to go.
Oh, but you were probably pretty wasted then.
Yeah, I don't remember finishing the stream. I'll be honest. I've been drinking all day.
I did a build stream afterwards, and I don't remember any of the build stream except I'm pretty sure I cut myself on a switch at one point, and I was bleeding on switches. That's like the only thing I remember from my build stream too.
Oh man, the things you do. J-Shift, thank you very much, sir, for the 500 Chewy Doppelganger bits. Really appreciate those.
Thank you so much. I wish I could be like Chewy. Chewy's way cooler than I am. That was that was a stream. The last weekend was crazy. But anyways, I digress. We're about a minute late on the intro here, so why don't we start this off and talk about some keyboards. Well, nobody wants a mail call anyways, let's be honest. Let's be honest, Jay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's episode of Top Clack. I am your host, Quakums, as usual, joined by my lovely co-host, Jay. We're going to talk about keyboards today. If you guys care about mail call, type F in the chat, because we skipped the mail call today, apparently. Or I guess we can do it. If enough people type F, maybe we could do a little mail call, because I don't think it's
if we get like 7 people type an F in chat, then we'll do it really quickly.
7? That's such an arbitrary number. I love it.
all numbers are arbitrary. That's the thing.
All right, well, there's more than 7, so we can't do the mail call.
All right,
it's exceeded 7. We can't do it. Sorry, guys, you failed. You just failed.
I said at least 7. I didn't say.
I'm making a joke. Gosh, always right over your head, Jay. All right, mail call. I actually got nothing. So it's quick. It's quick for me.
I finally got a package from Rise. So Jason, who some of you might know, he sent me some tangerines back in January, and they only just arrived the other day. So I've got some tangerine V2s, I think they are. I also got GMK Phantom in, which I'm really excited for. So GMK Phantom.
Underrated set.
Yeah, that's going to go on my Phantom themed number 2 TKL. And then I did get 2 other things in. The first thing I got in was I got the first of 6 boxes of the CFA desk mats in. So if you guys don't remember these ran for charity on a number of different vendors back in January for the Australian wildfires. These just turned up. I don't have them all yet, so if you ordered one from me, they aren't shipping just yet. I can't ship them until they all come in. But they should be here in the next week or so. Shipping from China is delayed. So they look really, really good. The reds turned out really nice. The desk mats are really nice. I'll probably have it on stream this week because that's my personal one. And then the final thing I got, I'm not going to show it because I want to kind of show it off when we do the stream for it. But the final thing I got is exclusive from boards such as the E6.5, the E7V1, and others reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and said, can I send you a prototype to build on stream? So me being me, I said, yes, that's not a problem at all. And it arrived. Now, I'll tell you the name of the board. It's the E8.5, which has been in group buy, but no one's actually seen the board in real life other than the couple of pictures that were shared at the time. And we'll be building it a week on Sunday with some new switches that Mike may have just posted out to me. So watch out for that build stream, the E8.5, a week on Sunday.
That's going to be some pretty awesome stuff. So a couple quick announcements while we're on the topic of upcoming streams. We have been trying to do like more build streams and such lately, and in doing that, we've been trying to give out a lot of game codes and stuff just to kind of encourage people to stay home. You know, a lot of people, they have a lot of free time right now. Maybe they lost their jobs, they need something to do. We're trying to give out a lot of game codes on all of our build streams. So make sure you come check those out if you want to get some free games, some awesome free games. And tomorrow we will have an episode of Behind the Keyboard, so look forward to that as well if you're a fan of the kind of interview segment we've been doing lately. My guest tomorrow is going to be a really good one, and I think it's going to be very topical, and I think people are going to be pretty interested in a lot of the topics that I have on my list for that interview as well. So this should be pretty awesome. You guys, I think, won't want to miss it, especially with how the community has been going lately. It's going to be pretty meta, so look forward to that as well. Shout out to Geo for 1,500 bits here. He's nice. Starting a hype train himself. Holy crap! Thank you so much, Geo. What a guy. Geo. Big hearts, Geo. Thanks, man.
Still worst mod, but you know.
Well, so, yeah, but he knows he's the worst mod, and we just kind of live with it, and that's just the way it is. Just the way it is, guys. So yeah, Behind the Keyboard tomorrow. It's going to be a really good time. I'm really looking forward to this one. It's going to be a fantastic episode, so I hope to see you guys all there, of course. But aside from that, what say you, Jay? Shall we talk about some keyboards finally?
Yeah, we should definitely. Well, yeah, let's start off with some keyboards. Maybe we can take a dessert of keycaps, and then maybe we can round that off with an aperitif of some other keyboard news.
Aperitif? Oh my god, fantastic usage, Jay. I love that one.
Do you like that?
That's a good.
Do you like that?
That's a good one. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Anyways, let us start out the news doc for today. This is the interest check for the Alter, which was kind of presented as an affordable, hopefully, TGR Alice clone. This one's by Anonymous, and, well, it's another Alice alternative, and to a lot of people, that could be really good, and to a lot of other people, maybe not so much. This one seems okay. It has a few things going for it, so let me just read off some specs here. 7-degree angle on this one, aluminum housing, of course, 18.5mm front height, all pretty standard stuff. What's actually pretty interesting about this, it is top mount, by the way, but what's actually pretty interesting about this one is if we scroll down here and we check out the bottom, it looks like they actually have a clear sheet of either acrylic or polycarbonate here, and in the post they actually say that bottom piece could potentially be any of the following materials: acrylic, aluminum, brass, or polycarbonate. And that caught my eye because while it is kind of nice to look at, and maybe it'll benefit if you have an underglow PCB or whatever, this should actually affect the sound of your keyboard quite a bit too. So
yeah, for sure. So
this could actually be kind of interesting depending on the sound profile that you want to kind of go for here. Other than that, it's a fairly standard Alice clone. We are seeing a pretty good price here of $300 or less with a PCB, of course. And that's estimated price, so take that with a grain of salt. And also, towards the bottom here, you'll notice the USB situation is kind of unique as well. So I don't know if they're actually going to go with this and stay with this, but if this render is to be believed, it supports both mini USB as well as USB-C on the same PCB.
So I don't think that's the case. What I think it's showing here is that there's multiple PCBs on the market, depending if you want to buy the Wonderland PCB from Martin, or the original Alice PCB, or the one from Project Keyboard. And some have got the USB port above, and some have got the USB port below the PCB where it sits. So it either switches in line with the switches, sits in line with the switches, or it sits underneath the PCB where the pins would show. So I think what they're doing here is they're making it so that the case is compatible no matter which PCB you've got. So yeah, it's just to make sure that it supports any type of PCB, and it's worth calling out that $300 price doesn't include a PCB as well, so that's just for the board itself.
Oh really? It says tentative price $300 or less for kit with PCB.
I didn't think he was including the PCB. Perhaps it's changed since last time I read it. Yeah, okay, and no brass parts. Perhaps it's changed since I read it the other day, or maybe I just read it and misunderstood it wrong. But I think they're definitely aiming for having it compatible with all of the different PCBs that are on the market today, rather than just have it compatible with one that they use or otherwise. So this might be an upgrade for people who've got a stacked acrylic case and they want to move to they love the layout, they enjoy it, they want to move to a more premium layout and a more premium case material, and they could pick this up and just kind of maybe switch out the plate and pop the PCB in here. Or alternatively, if they've got one of the other top mount Alice clones, they might want to switch and use this case instead. Who knows?
Yeah, should be pretty interesting. But I mean, I think people are more or less okay these days with more Alice alternatives coming out. Is there a name for this layout yet, or are people just still calling it like an Alice clone?
Alice style layout seems to be the most common denominator here.
We still can't get Alice out of the name then, huh?
It doesn't seem that way at the moment. And being frank, do we need to? I mean, everyone knows it by that now. You know, it's kind of the naming convention. This is how naming conventions start.
It's true. We used to call 60% the poker style layout. So
yeah, right. And how long did it take for that to start? It still gets called that in some circles today. So you know, poker compatible tray mats we still see that in ICs for 60% cases. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We probably don't need a name, but it'd be kind of interesting to see what people come up with. Aside from just consistently referencing back to the Alice, which is, is the Alice known for the layout or the board itself? Because I guess if people view the Alice as a layout and not necessarily a board, it's kind of a different scenario, perhaps. I don't know.
Maybe.
It's kind of a weird subject. Regardless, this one looks okay. It doesn't look terribly interesting. I'm somewhat interested in the bottom materials just to kind of adjust sound. I'd be curious to know if they potentially would be willing to do multiple materials instead of just settling on one, potentially. So that way you can kind of mix and match and see what kind of sound differentials you can get using like the same switch and plate, for example.
That could be quite cool, because you could buy, say, an acrylic base for portability and lightness, make it lighter, adding lightness, as Steve Jobs might have said at one point. But for portability, taking it around, anti-weight, accent piece, whatever you want to call that. And then you might have a brass piece for at home, so it sits and it's chunkier on your desk at home, depending on what you want. All sorts of different things for different folks out there. So yeah, it'd be good to be able to buy different bottom pieces and customize that sound profile and see how that goes.
Yeah, certainly. So this is pretty interesting. And of course it's an IC, so nothing is final yet. But we will check this out again once it comes to the group buy phase. But speaking of group buy phase, this one is already making a lot of people pretty happy. This is, of course, the group buy from Gawk 101. This is for the 7V, that highly hyped and anticipated 75% that he's been working on for a while. Finally has launched, and holy crap, I think it's been selling quite well so far from what I've been hearing.
Yeah, from what I've been hearing, lots and lots of people have jumped in on this one. They've been waiting a long time for it, with that kind of Louis Vuitton-esque logo in the top right-hand corner and that lovely brass underweight. I mean, first things first on this board, the thing that jumps out is the looks of it, right? It does look significantly different to a lot of boards out there. That whole PVD kind of shiny accent weight underneath, multiple different options of materials, the colours of the case, just the styling itself is very, very... I mean, it's still a keyboard. It's still a rectangle. You know, you're never going to get a million miles away from that. But it's just really good to look at. And the fact that it's taken the whole split F-row as well just screams class on this board to me. It does look exceptional. In terms of some specs, let's just run that down. So case angle is 7 degrees. From material that's made from aluminium, stainless steel, which can be PVD coated, or steel and brass as extras. The colours, it comes in anodized black, grey, dark blue, or E-white for the main chassis. The mounting method is its dampen plate of Wilvertech leaf spring PCB mount, which we'll talk about in a bit more detail shortly. The plate comes in 2 flavours, either polycarbonate or aluminium, depending on whether you want a harder or a softer typing feel. And then it does come with a PCB made by Wilbur, which is the WT75 non-hot swap, and USB-C daughter board by Wilbur as well, which means it supports QMK and VIA out of the box. In terms of weight, they expect it to be around 2.6 kilograms fully built, which is pretty chunky.
It's about 5.7 pounds or so, which is more than reasonable, I would say, for a keyboard of this size.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that mounting style, because this is probably one of the more defining features of this board. Obviously, we've had Gasket Mount seen a multitude of ways already. You're kind of used to this after the last couple of years now. But, usually you have a Gasket Mount system that involves the plate, and this one kind of takes a different approach on that, and it aims to kind of stabilize the PCB with the gasket, and the plate is kind of like a secondary thing at that point.
Yeah, there's actually a better picture of this over on Novelties. Let me see if I can find it under the extras of the PCB alone. So let me see if I can find the image address. Let me paste that into chat. There we go. So that kind of shows you what the if you open it in a new tab, Brian, as well. If you open it in a new tab, that's the better way of seeing it. So that kind of gives you a view of what the PCB actually looks like and how it's kind of sprung together. So it's a very, very unique take on that whole kind of mounting style. But you can then see from looking at this why it's got the extended blockers on the bezels, and so the extended bezels why it's slightly thicker around the edges. What are your thoughts when you see that PCB, Brian?
It's wild, man, but I'm really interested in it. Because, I'm always in favor of doing things differently, new typing experiences, and I feel like Wilbur is kind of into the same sort of thing, which is why we often see him doing kind of more unique things compared to a lot of the other designers sometimes. And I feel like this is potentially in the same vein, and I'm really interested to see how this works. It's not 100% certain, but it is likely I will be getting a prototype of this, which would be pretty awesome, because then we could see firsthand just exactly how this is going to work. But I'm pretty excited. I'm a little worried, though. Like, how the plate is going to work. Is there going to be any tolerance issues between the top of the plate, since there's not going to be anything actually connecting them?
Yeah, so it's worthwhile pointing out that the plate doesn't connect to anything. It is there primarily for switch alignment and
switches hold
not
the
sound
in this sense, basically, I think.
Yeah, it's just switch alignment. Yeah, so the PCB is where all of the mounting takes place, which technically means you could probably build this as a plateless build. I'd see no reason why you wouldn't be able to build that looking at the diagrams here in the exploded view. If you wanted to eschew the plate and not use it at all, you should be able to do that with this board. There might be some other concerns with regards to fitment and things like that, but I imagine that would be completely possible. Of course, you can see the foams there as well that existed between the plate and the PCB. Lots of people doing that these days. I'm personally not a fan of that. I think it deadens the sound of the switches too much, but your mileage may vary. I do like it, but I'm really, really interested by this PCB. I think a couple of things stand out for me on it as well. In terms of these mounting tabs, I think the ones on the front and rear of the PCB are going to be quite flexible. If you look at that original picture, they're actually stepped further away from the center mass of the PCB than the ones on the side are. The ones on the side are actually quite a lot closer. I think they're like 3 millimeters and a millimeter or something like that. I don't know the exact measurements, but it's something like that in terms of the difference in gap. So I imagine the ones on the side are going to be much more rigid. I'd personally almost like to remove the ones on the side and just go for the ones on the front and rear edges, like many other PCB mount boards do. Brian, I know you've tried the IDB. You like PCB mount from that perspective. It's quite a flexible typing feel. This PCB is bigger than the IDB PCB, for example, and a lot of others. So therefore, there's more width of the board to have flex and bend in. So like many things, the smaller it gets, if you imagine a piece of spaghetti, if you have a really long piece of dry spaghetti, you can snap it quite easily. The shorter you get, the harder it gets to snap. Well, it's kind of the same with the flexibility in PCBs like this. The bigger it is, the more flex technically you'll have. So it'd be really, really interesting to see how that plays out and how it feels. But yeah, I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, I can certainly see why this board has been so hyped. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. The mounting system seems really interesting and innovative, and I'm pretty excited to check one out. Hopefully.
Yeah, the only thing I'm disappointed by is for me personally, as an ISO user, there's no ISO support on the PCB, which means even if I did want to use it as a PCB mount and eschew the plate, if I bought one, I wouldn't be able to use my particular layout. That being said, the PCB does offer some different supports depending on what you want to do. You can have full or split backspace, you can have stepped or full caps lock, and then there are two different bottom row options where you can have either a 6.25U spacebar or you can use a 6U spacebar, and that supports both the centered and the off-centered 6U as well. So lots of GMK sets have that if you want to refer to that, as well as EPBT and signature plastic sets as well. So 6U off-centered and centered are usually relatively easy to get hold of. However, the stabilizers do tend to be a little bit harder to find for those 6U stabs. So bear that in mind.
Yeah. Thankfully, I think the 6.25U bottom row actually doesn't look too bad on this particular layout. Usually I don't care as much for the 6.25 layouts, but I think with the segregated arrows, it actually works okay.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm glad it doesn't have a blocker, actually, a wing keyless blocker. I think that would detract it for me on that particular layout. Normally, I do prefer wing keyless look on boards, especially on 75% boards. But I think you're absolutely right. The exploded arrows, the exploded right hand column, that kind of thing, it does lend itself better to having a fuller bottom row and not having a wing keyless kind of look. But I think personally, I do prefer the look of the 6U spacebar on this one with the 1.5, 1.5. 6, and then two 1.5U mods on the right hand side. I think that looks just a little bit cleaner.
Agree to disagree on this one, Jay, but thankfully we have Gawk in chat that says 6U stabilizer will be part of the kit.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Nice touch. Cool. That's a nice touch. I like that.
Yeah, if something's hard to get and you're offering it in a group buy, give it for free for people as part of the kit. That's a great touch. Thoroughly enjoy seeing that.
Yeah, these are nice, man. These pictures.
Yeah, it's a good looking board.
It's really elegant. It's really elegant.
Yeah, I think the if I was going to pick one of these up, and I genuinely would love to, it's lack of layout for my personal preference is the only reason I'm not picking one of these up. But if I was going to pick one of these up, the black on black just looks to die for, to be quite honest. I would absolutely love that, or even the white and black and the white and silver is sorry, the white and silver, not the white and black. The white and silver is stunning as well. But yeah, all the colors, everything looks classy, everything looks great. That whole Wilbur PCB. Interestingly enough, the pictures of the PCB at the bottom, the Wilbur PCB has far fewer of those mount points visible than the actual final PCB view as well. So in the angled shots, you can see there's only one corner just peeking out, one of those little legs. There's just one of those little legs peeking out.
It's like a tease, man. It's just the tip.
Yeah, it's just the tip. But where's the other ones across that stretch? Because in the other image, they're almost touching. So you should see at least one in there. But yeah. I suspect that's just going across different variations and revisions before we're settling on the final version.
Yeah, definitely. So hopefully we can check out one of the prototypes. If not, I'm sure some other streamers probably will be, and I'll be interested to see that either way.
I would absolutely kill to build one of these, even though personally I'm not going to buy one. I would absolutely kill to build one of these because I think it's going to be a really, really interesting take. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great board.
Awesome. So yeah, that's open right now, guys. That closes May 1st, right? Yeah, May 1st.
May 1st, yeah.
So yeah, you got a little bit of time left, but that is open now for anyone that is interested. It's unlimited too, right?
I believe it is unlimited, yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if this sells in excess of 250, 300 units, maybe even more. I think it'll do really well. It's been hyped for a long time. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how the community adopts to it. But yeah, I'm excited for it. It's just so neat. Look at that. It's like the USB cut on the back. That kind of angle from the inside of the case just looks great. Yeah, I can't speak highly enough about this board. I think there's a clear level of design and attention to detail that's gone into this that doesn't go into a lot of boards. The picture you showed a second ago with the PCB mounted in the case, just exemplary. It looks great.
Yeah. Interesting. So is this the previous PCB with less tabs then?
It looks to be, because the final version on Novel Keys has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across the base, 5 across the top, and then 2 down each side. So it has 10 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 mounting points, whereas the image you've got there only has 3 across the top and then 2 across the bottom, I believe. So I think,
yeah,
I think it's changed.
Okay, so yeah, the new one has definitely a lot more of the mounting system. It does look like this was already mentioned, obviously, but like you mentioned, you can build this without the plate too, which could be cool as well. So as far as the gasket mount works, I'm assuming it's just kind of like the keyhole
it's under
style,
the tabs,
but
under the PCB tabs rather than...
Yeah, but for the okay, yeah, this is a great picture. I didn't actually look at this particular album when I looked at it earlier, so this is kind of new to me. But
the cool thing about this, one of the really cool things about this as well, is that those tabs could quite easily be separatable from the PCB. So one of the things you might want to do is, before you build it, is actually kind of rest it on a frame and just see how much flexibility you've got in there. And you could try putting something underneath, like 4 across the top and 2 across the bottom, just seeing how you liked it with different mounting tabs on there. And I'm not suggesting that people go and destroy their PCBs or break them or anything like that. But theoretically, if you wanted to, you could actually play around with how many of those mounting tabs you actually use, and you might choose to use 3 across the top and 2 across the bottom, or take the ones off the side off or something like that, because that could really affect the amount of flexibility. Again, depends on how much room there is in the bottom of the case, how much flex before you bottom out and all that kind of stuff. But theoretically, you could definitely play around with that. And experiment with different typing feels. So
yeah, maybe this is going to be the kind of board where you almost have to buy another PCB just
just to play around, right?
Because you're probably going to want to try something at some point, maybe, and you don't want to risk it entirely.
Oh man, yeah, exactly. I'm really tempted to buy one just to do that now, even though I wouldn't use the layout.
Here's what you do: buy it, experiment, give it to me. Easy.
Give it to you. Easy. Give it to you.
No, you're just gloss right over that word. It's not a big deal. Yeah, just you don't have to give it to me. Just send it to me. Just send it to me.
Just send it to you.
I'll handle everything after that, Jay, because that's the kind of friend I am. All right, so as awesome as this board is, we have spent quite a bit of time on it. So let's go ahead and move on to some of the other interesting topics that are also happening today. This next one is one I'm pretty stoked about, actually. This is the group buy for the Profit 60% by West Foxtrot of Cable Car Designs, if I recall, is the name, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yep, Cable Car Designs, Yep.
So this is a board that has been kind of teased for a while. Obviously, some units ran. It was kind of a proto run, if I recall. I think you have one, Jay.
I do, yes.
And we checked out the interest check a while back, but now the group buy has officially started for this, and this is pretty hype for quite a few reasons. So let's talk about these specs first, and we'll get into why this is pretty interesting as well. So aluminum housing, 6-degree angle. You're going to have all 3 of your 60% top choices here, whether you want HHKB, Win Keyless, or the standard 60%. Color choices, black, dark blue, and E-white. You can match the we'll take a look at the bottom plate here in a second, but you can match the bottom plate to whatever color you choose, or you could just have it black if you want something a little bit more contrasting. The PCB is QMK, designed by West Foxtrot, I believe, and the plate, which I would argue is going to be one of the most interesting features of this keyboard. So it's going to be offered in 3 different plate materials, and none of them are metal. Yay! So we're going to have polypropylene in white. We're going to have polycarbonate in media blasted finish, and nylon, which is going to be a black color. So you're going to have 3 really interesting options here. I mean, when was the last time polycarbonate was the least interesting plate material in a group buy, Jay?
Long time ago. When I first bought this board, to be honest, because there were some things that ran in the original run, which was kind of like a proto round for this board that isn't running in the final version. We'll talk a little bit about why later on. But for example, I've got a carbon fiber plate for mine, half plate, and that's not running for us for a reason, which we'll talk about in a second. But you're right, polypropylene. We don't often see that, in keyboard plate design and options. PC, we do see that a lot more common now. Nylon, again, very, very rare. I think there's only been 3 or 4 boards that have run nylon plates, and a lot of those have tended to be aftermarket. So really interesting to see. No POM option. I'm surprised that there's no POM option. I did think that might be also something that would be considered for this, especially given its comparisons to PC in terms of flexibility, feel, and durability. So I'm interested to see that. And there is also an ISO option as well. So if you do like ISO, there will be an ISO option, but they're just going to go with whatever the most popular option for ISO is, I believe, unless they've already made a decision since I last looked at this.
I think they have. I think it's
Right. Okay.
polypropylene by default. I think if you order
Right.
ISO.
Okay, I haven't looked at it for a couple of days, but I know when they were when the interest check was up, the rule was that whatever the single most popular choice was for ISO, everyone would get that by default because that will be a much lower MOQ. Sorry, there'll be much fewer buyers for that to hit MOQ. So yeah.
So
in terms of the sorry, I was just going to say, in terms of the group buy as well, you can buy extra tops, PCBs, and plates. So if you did want to buy 2 tops for this, you can do that as well.
Yeah, which is quite nice. Also, it's worth mentioning that all of the plates can be available in half or full as well. So that's pretty cool. Let's talk about the mounting system on this a little bit too. We talked about it before in the past on the show, so we don't need to go too much into detail. But can you just give us a brief rundown on kind of how this works? Because this is a little different from a lot of other keyboards.
Yeah, so there's kind of like a couple of different views on here. There's kind of an assembly view, and then there's a view that Brian's shown where you can kind of see a translucent top piece. And effectively, what you've got is a seamless design. So the top piece covers the base, and it kind of encapsulates it in full. Now, what that does is that actually the plate assembly sits on top of the base, but it doesn't sit on tabs like a gasket mount board would do. It's not top mounted. It's not bottom mounted. In fact, the plate itself isn't screwed to the board, and it's actually designed to be loose inside the case, and that looseness is the reason why there is no firmer material plate. So there's no carbon fiber, there's no aluminium, there's no metals, purely because if you're rattling or if something's loose inside the top half of the case and it can move up and down, which I'll talk about how it moves in a second, and it can move around, that's going to create noise, whereas the plastic plates don't create noise, and certainly the polypropylene and nylon ones don't, because they're very, very rubbery in terms of feel, for want of a better word. So in terms of how it works, there's 4 pins, one in each corner of the board. That's kind of like a stub, a nubbin that kind of pushes up out of the keyboard base itself, as it's a machined piece of aluminium, and those stand proud of the bottom case. Then the interesting thing here is that the plate sits over the top of those nubbins and connects into them. Effectively, there's holes in the plate, so the plate sits flush with the top of them, and then it rests also around the edges of the case as well. So it almost kind of rests like a sandwich mount plate would do. But the key here is there's no pressure on the plate from the top case. In pretty much every other keyboard we build that's got this kind of design, there's usually pressure on both the top and the bottom part of the mounting position. Either it's top mounting, you're screwing up, so you're going the screw going up and the top case pressing down, or it's gasket mounted like on the Keycap boards, and you've got the bottom case, you've got the gasket plate, gasket, and then you've got the top case pressing it down and crushing it together. Here, there is absolutely no pressure applied to the plate at all. In fact, there's actually a gap between the top of those pins and the bottom of the top case as well. So when that's all put together, you could actually move up and down slightly. I think it's 0.75 of a millimeter or something like that. You can actually move up and down the plate assembly slightly inside the case housing, and that movement up and down is why there's no firmer plates used for this board. The idea is that it will give a more consistent typing feel across the board. That's entirely the idea behind it. I can say that it does work with the nylon plate, which is how my Prophet was built originally. It doesn't work so well with the carbon fiber plate, so I can completely see why that wasn't included in the group buy. It's just too firm. It does rattle. It doesn't work anywhere near as well. So the softer plate materials do win out on this one for me.
Man, how many people are bummed out that this red is not a part of the group buy?
Hey, that's my board.
I know. And what a board it is. I love that red too.
Yeah, the red's something else.
You had the nylon plate, right, when you came to Seattle?
Yeah, so the build that you can see there on my Metropolis desk mat, that is with the nylon plate, and that's the build as it was in Seattle, which was really quiet, to be honest.
It's very quiet. Yeah. The nylon really threw me off there. It felt good. It was just it was basically like a whisper quiet board. Yeah, and it wasn't supposed to be, if I recall. So that was kind of interesting.
It's very loud with the carbon fiber plate, very loud. But it sounds good either way. It sounds good. I can see why you didn't pick to use the harder plates with that mount positioning, as we talked about before. But it's one of the better sounding keyboards on the market. That's for sure. No matter how you build it, it seems to sound good. There's a ton of different builds and different styles out there from the prototypes from people like Chris Swires and Cohen Romers and people like that, and they all sound good. There isn't a bad sound test out there of the board. The other interesting thing as well is that the plate has got consistency cuts. Max doesn't like to use the term flex cuts for them, but it does have consistency cuts. In fact, you can see the picture right at the very bottom of that image link. That picture was taken in a pub randomly when I went to pick up my board off of Max. So that PCB is being held up in a bar. There was alcohol involved. The PCB was safe, but you can see the consistency cuts across the full length of the board there as well. And small details, that Profit logo that you can see on the rear of the PCB, that exactly lines up with the Profit logo on the base of the board as well.
Wow, interesting. That's a nice touch that like doesn't matter, but it's like one of those attention to detail levels, you know?
Yeah, it's like if you milled that Profit out of the base of the keyboard, that's what you would see. You see that Profit logo on the PCB.
Oh man, someone's gonna do that now. Man, too good. You infilled this logo too, right? Like it's not black by default.
No, I infilled that on stream. I literally did that on stream. It takes 2 minutes to do. Yeah, it looks good, right?
Yeah, it does. Interesting. I bet a lot of people are probably going to be infilling their bottoms after they get them.
Infilling their bottoms after they get them. Well, luckily enough, Brian, I have a guide for how to infill your bottom on top back.
Hey, man. So. Yeah, if I ever need to talk to anyone about infilling bottoms, Jay is usually the first person I go to.
Thanks.
So, anyways, back to the Profit. It's looking quite nice. Price is actually pretty reasonable as well. $325 is the starting price on the US proxy at the very least, but there is a little breakdown there. But it was limited to 150 units. It was sold out. I did get one, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Excellent.
I went with the full E-white, full polypropylene plate and wind keyless top. So
nice. I'm good choices.
Pretty excited. You know, when a new plate material comes out, I got to be all over it. Like that's so interesting.
If you can, I would recommend, if you can, expanding your order, getting a spare PCB and getting something like a nylon half plate as well, just to try it out. Because why not, right?
Yeah, I probably should.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see. The rest of my stimulus check needs to go to bills, honestly.
Fair enough. Just in terms of the MOQ and the numbers as well. So whilst there was only 150 units for Canon key. It was UPass's limit. 150 units was also the MOQ, so that it was priced at making 150 of these boards. That being said, all of the other vendors, apart from Canon Keys, are unlimited in terms of the numbers that they will sell. The rule was that it needed to hit a minimum of 150 units, or it would close on the 1st of May. So if it hadn't hit 150 by the 1st of May, it would carry on until it hit 150 units. That 150 units has already been surpassed just by the North American vendor, so therefore the group buy is going to close on the 1st of May, I think. I think that's the date. But all of the other vendors are unlimited. So if you didn't get one in the US, you still want one of these boards, you can get one from one of the other vendors. Just bear in mind that you will have to pay maybe an exchange rate and an additional shipping cost. But they will ship anywhere. If that's mykeyboard.eu you want to buy from, you can do that. Just reach out to David and Yulia on their Discord, or email them, or create a support ticket, and they will explain how to order for a US order on their website, because it doesn't work by default. So if you do want to order from anywhere else, you can do. If you want to order from mykeyboard.eu, just reach out to the vendor and they'll help you make that order.
Awesome. Sounds good. Do we have numbers for how many units the other proxies have sold? The non-US proxies?
I have no idea.
I'd be really curious to know if this board's selling better outside of the US, or if it's selling better inside the US.
So it's interesting because we are digressing a little bit. The EU community, best guess, is about the size of the Washington State community. So when you consider that in context, I would imagine that more would sell in the US. But that fact that it hit 150 already and people are still wanting to buy these tends to suggest that the market was larger in the US than the availability. So it'll be an interesting one to see the numbers on. I wouldn't be surprised if this hits 1,000 units overall, though, sold, because it's just. I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if they sell more than 1,000 of these.
That would be very interesting.
Yeah,
we'll have to wait and see. But I mean, it seems like it's going quite strong so far. I think it didn't take that many hours for the U.S. vendor to sell out at the very least.
Yeah, so Pluto just mentioned it took an hour for 100 units. I think it was about 2.5 hours, from what I understand, for all 150, which is actually slower than I thought it'd be. I thought those were going to sell out in like minutes.
I would have guessed like 10 minutes or less as well for all 150.
150. Now that could be the COVID-19 situation. We have talked about that, how that's impacting people's finances. It did launch at the right time for people getting their stimulus checks, as you've already mentioned, Brian. So that's another one. Yeah, it's an interesting one because yeah, I mean, some boards sell out really fast, and other boards are slow burners, but are just as popular in the long run. And it's kind of a metric that doesn't really make sense because, like, you can talk about the Jane that sold out in 2 seconds for 120 units or whatever it was, which is a stupid metric. It doesn't really make sense. You can talk about, other boards that take months to sell out. So Max's first board, the Anzi, took months to sell out, but it's one of my favorite boards, and it's vastly underrated in the market today. The JO2, I think when that was on Mechanic Keys, we sold 100 of those on Mechanic Keys in 2 minutes. But at the same time, if it had taken 2 hours, it wouldn't have really made any difference. So I think that as a metric makes no difference whatsoever to the community. I think looking at how long things take to sell out is just a bad way of putting things because it doesn't really show overall demand. All it shows is people's urgency to get something, and I'm not sure that's something that we should celebrate in the community. I think that just generates too much hype building. But that being said, this board, if it doesn't sell 1,000, if it doesn't sell 500 units, I'd be very surprised, and if it sells 1,000, I won't be surprised at all.
Yeah, fair enough. It'll be interesting to come back and check that out. But let's move on to our last keyboard of the topic list, at least. And this is the group buy for the Borsdorff. And this is a unique version, right, Jay? Is that how this works?
Yeah.
It's
so.
It'd probably be better if you explain this one, since I just saw this like 20 minutes ago.
So the Borsdorff is a board that I joined the Founders Edition for, and you can see some pictures of the Founders Editions here in the thread. Now the Borsdorff is basically, for those that you don't remember, the Apple AEK2 keyboards. They have a really lovely sculpted profile keycap set, and that's just not usable on a lot of Alps boards today. So if you try and build an Alps board and put those keycaps on, because of the way that they have a curve, and the original Apple boards had a curve in them, the keycaps sat proud of the case at the back, and it wasn't really high profile. It didn't look great. In fact, the background that you can see behind all of the imagery here actually shows those AEK keycaps in a KBD 661 keyboard case with the PCB for this board. So that was kind of like my first fudge build. So the picture that you can see that's kind of frosted and hidden behind the whole stream elements, that's the precursor to this build. Now I have 2 of these boards. I got 2 Founders Edition boards, one because I wanted one, and one because someone else dropped out, and I just offered to pick up the second one. And I will be building the second one on Sunday on the build stream then. So this Sunday coming, I'll be building a second Borsdorff. Now, the interesting thing about the Borsdorff is it's German designed. It's designed as a European kind of community project. It was designed to be in Europe, and therefore it's designed around the ISO keycap availability. So this doesn't support ANSI. There's no, even though you can get those Apple keyboards with ANSI keys, this board doesn't support them in its current configuration. All it supports is the layout that you see here, and the only thing you can change is the right shift key. You can have 2 1U keycaps there, or you can have the 2U keycap there. That's literally the only configuration in terms of layout that you can do. But it does mean that a lot of us that have got all those old ISO AEK2 boards, we can actually reuse those keycaps and build a board here. Whether we've got the UK version, the German version, the Swedish version, the Norwegian version, there's thousands of different versions of these, but they all use ISO and the same keycaps. Really, really interesting. There is no US vendor or any other proxies worldwide because it's an ISO only board. It's the community didn't feel that there was any reach outside of the EU for these boards. So Darth WTF, who's behind this, and Necroman, who's been pushing it from my keyboard to EU and going for the group buy, they've decided to limit it to just the EU. If you do want one outside of the EU, you can reach out to me. You can buy one and have it shipped, but bear in mind you will have to build it ISO, and you will have to source one of these original Apple boards as well for the keycaps. It is running until May the 3rd. There's an unlimited quantity of these available. I think 10 is the MOQ or something like that. I don't think it's huge, but it does come in multiple different colors. You can have it anodized in titanium gray, navy, and bordeaux, which are Salvan's standard colors, and this is manufactured in the EU by Salvan. And you can also have Cerakote in some standard colours as well for an extra €60 on top. So there we go. That's pretty much it.
Yes. I mean, speaking of the price, it's not bad either. About €300, and that includes VAT. So it's probably we worked it out somewhere around 280, 290 USD before.
Yeah, I'd imagine it'd be around 280. So VAT is one thing, exchange rate's the other. It's a guess.
Not that I would expect a lot of Americans to be buying, an ISO only layout board, but there might be a few of you out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Borsdorff's a great looking board. I'm going to build a second one of these. It's actually the best sounding and the best Alps board I've got, and I've got a few Alps boards. I've got Browns in my current build, and I love the sound of that thing. And I've also got, I'm going to be using Salmons in my upcoming build, so this will be on Sunday. Rebuild the second Borsdorff. But yeah, it's a beautiful board, and I think if and when an ANSI version is done, it'll sell crazy. It'll sell probably more than what the Luna did, because it's just that sweeping curve of the board is such a good design feature. The pictures here don't do it justice. In real life, it looks absolutely stunning. So yeah, so I'll be building that on Sunday. So if you're interested in that, do check it out.
Has this board run before with an ONSI version?
No. Okay. So the closest board that's ever run before was the 60% Luna, which that was in plate, if I remember rightly, and it didn't have the same curve. I think the curve was slightly different in how it was machined and how it was designed. I think the board had more affectations. This is much simpler, but it is 65%, so it's trying to reuse as many of those kind of keycaps off of that board, which was a full-size board, the Apple M3501. So it's trying to use as many of those keycaps as possible.
Yeah, certainly. Cool. So yeah, look forward to that if that's your type of thing. And until then, let's move over to some key sets, shall we? Some lovely cat profile as well. So this is an interest check by Fatboy Carney for cat iron. So obviously not even close to the first set being designed with an element in mind. But hey, people usually seem to like these kind of things. Look how Carbon did, and Phosphorus wasn't terrible either. So why stop there? Here we have
and Copper.
Yeah,
Copper, that was also...
I was trying to remember what the other one was, but I couldn't do it off the top of my head. I just couldn't.
Well, there you go. You see, Copper was also the set by the same guy. So Fatboy Carney, he was also the guy behind Copper.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean any disrespect by forgetting that name. My apologies. But regardless, this set looks pretty interesting. It's cat profile, obviously. I'm a big fan of that. This is a gradient set, as you can kind of see here, and that's been kind of a popular thing lately, I've noticed. We've been seeing quite a few of these, but I don't think it looks terrible here. I think the colors are all, kind of neutral enough to where no one can really hate it. Either you like kind of gradient sets or you don't, and I feel like that's going to be pretty true here. One thing that I found really interesting... Okay, well, before that, all the kits here... We're not going to go through all the kits, obviously, because this is being...
Yeah, there's too many.
Being a cat set, it's going to have a lot of keys and a lot of kits, just because of the way they handle MOQ versus something like GMK, for example. And it would just take way too long. But just know that because of this type of structure, chances are you're going to be able to cover whatever the hell you want, because there are just so many kits. But what I thought was kind of interesting is actually this Phoenician Alpha kit.
Yes.
Which I don't remember if I've ever seen these legends on a key set before. I don't think I have, but boy, is it attractive.
So I've been speaking to Fatboy about this. He's been asking some advice over the past couple of weeks, so I'll try not to betray any confidences with this, but I will say that there's been some artistic license made with some of the characters on here, just because there isn't a true written version of the language, as far as I understand, available today. So some artistic license has been taken with some of the glyphs that are used for this, or some of the legends that are used. But as you say, Brian, it is a really, really attractive looking system. It kind of works. It does. It's really interesting. It looks great, and it's unusual. It's different. We often talk about having something different in the keyboard world. This is kind of something new. We've seen other legends before. We've seen Hangul, and we've seen in like Korean Beige and stuff like that. We've seen all the hiragana and all of that kind of stuff. And that's kind of old. All of that kind of stuff. But Phoenician. Why not?
This is certainly out of left field to me, and I can't be any happier about it. I want to see these legends used more. The set isn't necessarily for me. I do tend to shy away from the gradient sense. I just don't like them as much. The colors here I do think are fine, and the set is structured well.
I kind of like this. I do really like the gradient sets. That to me it looks really, really interesting. I think some of the clever things are having the rusted out keycaps as well in some of the modifier kits. I think that could work quite well depending on how you lay it out. The only thing that detracts for me in this interest check is the use of that marble background on some of the kits, because it's hard to see what's going on and it's hard to read like the titles and things like that. So I would recommend Fatboy puts them all on plain backgrounds like the Phoenician Alphas one, because it's just easier to look at and easier to read and see what we're looking at. A couple of shout outs as well. Things that I do really like at Novelties Kit. So there's some really clever stuff on there, like the iron keycaps with the periodic table of elements details and descriptions on there as well. There's also a sword. Now, I believe that the sword image on the ANSI Enter that has been updated. There is a different version of that now. I know that's gone through a couple of revisions. And then, really interestingly, including the Eiffel Tower, because the Eiffel Tower is made of iron.
Which I didn't know until before the show. I had to look that up.
Yeah, right. It's a clever little detail.
Yeah, I had to learn about Phoenician history for this topic.
Nice, clever. So it really good to see some clever use of legends. But as you said, Brian, all the kits. There's no point in going through them all. But there isn't a keyboard out there that you can't cover with some of these somehow or some way or shape or form. There's pretty much everything in there, and the renders looking pretty good, I've got to be honest. That IM 180, probably the hottest TKL in Instant Just Check at the minute, looks amazing. Renders, who are these renders by Mansell? These renders look stunning.
These are good, yeah.
Render game is getting better and better every time.
I know. Remember when it was like Thesis Camper and everyone else, and now it's like everyone renders like really well now.
Yeah. These could be real. This could be a real board. Could this IM 180? That could be the prototype with the keycaps on. And if you told me that, I probably wouldn't disagree. Some of these render guys are now even going in and putting dust and stuff on there to make them look more realistic.
I've noticed
which is just phenomenal when you think about it.
I remember when Rama started adding for the first, I think it was the M60 run. He started putting fingerprints on the brass parts in the renders.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, I had to do the thing where you kind of lift your glasses, rub your eyes, put your glasses back on. Man, it's interesting. It's very interesting. I do like the theme a lot, and I think that this is structured pretty well, all things considered. Even though the gradient isn't really for me, I think this set is strong, and I think that it'll probably sell fairly well as well.
Yeah, it's Cat. I'm a huge fan of Cat. It's my second favorite profile. It's the profile I like to use more often than not because it's changed from Cherry. I think Cherry's number one for me, but this is number two. But using Cat is always a real huge pleasure because it's so different from Cherry. And it feels so good. So to have this come in, this is a must buy for me. I think this is going to do great in group buy. All of the different kits will sell pretty well, I would imagine, and I don't think it'll have any issues. Really excited to see this get to group buy.
Yep, absolutely. Shout out to Mr. Petrov, who not only subscribes at tier 2 for 18 months in a row, but he also gifts 1,000 bits. So thank you so much, Mr. Petrov.
Two babies, Mr. Petrov. Two top flying babies, 18 months.
Yeah, I mean, leave it to Petrov to have lots of kids, lots of top clack kids running around. All right, so yeah, looking forward to this, guys. This is going to be an interesting one. We'll have to check that out again once it finally launches. And next up, we have this is a pretty interesting set. Okay, so this is the interest check for Infinikey PBT Islander. This is by Abek, who is also quite known for his nice design and render works. And this is quite an interesting set. So obviously, a lot of people out there, with your Nintendo Switches, you might be familiar with the new Animal Crossing game, which I actually just started playing recently. I got it just the other day, and I started playing it like literally yesterday. So nice. I'm kind of on the hype train a little bit as well, so this has been kind of cool and kind of meta topical. But yeah, this is effectively an Animal Crossing themed PBT Infinikey set, and this is pretty interesting. And this also takes a somewhat unique approach of having kind of imbalanced mods when it comes to colors. So obviously the colors of the mods on the left are different from the colors of the mods on the right. That's kind of a thing that we've seen struggle in the past. Maybe it doesn't really work out usually, but I'm kind of interested. I do understand why it's done like this. I totally get it, and I feel like if this were a GMK set, it might fail. But because it's Infinikey and you're doing die sub and reverse die sub, I think you can kind of get away with something like this. And we kind of saw this idea toyed with a little bit by Rensuya, although with more extremity with the. What was it called? The PBT R&R, the Rem and Ram set, where he has literally half the set are different colors from each other. This is a bit lighter of a take, and this is a little bit more playful, I might say. But it's kind of interesting.
I think that works better with lighter colored sets as well, having the different modifier colors. I think it works better here where you've got lighter colors that are almost pastel. And I do think it works really well. I'm a huge fan of this. I can't say how much I like this. As soon as I saw the interest check go up for this, it was like, yes, I need this. This is great. I can't lie. I think I was like the third person to post on it saying like yes, 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 or something like that. It's just great. It's just fantastic. The novelties, some of them do get a bit close to potentially infringing on IP.
They get pretty close.
Yeah, but ABEC has said that he's working on making sure that they are a little bit more vague, so that they're not copying in IC and stuff like that. But no, it's a hot new game. Everyone's playing it, or lots of people playing it. Everyone's seen it if they haven't played it. The colors work really well. I think it's a really cute looking set. It looks great on whiteboards, on the Iron 165 and a couple of the other boards. In fact, on the Rama
UA80, does it look good
great, looks great.
On the Iron 165, Jay? When was the last time you saw a set on the Iron 165? Iron 165 makes Honderbyte look good.
Yeah, even I'd look good on the Iron 165, so that's saying something.
I'll give you that one. All right, I'll let you have one win there, Jay. Let's take a look at this kitting structure, because this is kind of interesting, actually. So obviously, this is actually to be run through TKC, being an Infinikey set. No surprise there, but look at the kitting on here. This is not really like a lot of the kitting that we've seen with the Infinikey sets so far. This is more a la something like GMK kitting, where you kind of have this inclusive base kit here with, you have basic ISO support, you have pretty much all your standard things, 65, 75, Sangon, numpad in there. You have quite a few accents as well. The Novelties Kit. When I first saw this thread, I was like, "Oh my god, that's going to be an expensive kit," and then I realized this wasn't a GMK set.
Yeah, right.
And then this is probably going to be like a $10 kit or like $20 kit or something. But I do like the novelties. I think some of them may be a little close, but obviously, if he's working on that, big thumbs up there. More power to him. This is a really playful set, because that's kind of how the game is, right? And that's the whole kind of overarching theme in this, I feel.
Yeah. I think some of the novelties, I think you're right, as I said before, they are kind of close to home. But I think you could quite easily make them very different to what's in the game and still get across that feel. It's not difficult. It's an
They're
easy
all generic
kind
things. The game isn't complex.
Yeah, like the fishing and the catching the butterflies and all of that kind of stuff. You can quite easily do stuff with that takes elements of the game but doesn't infringe on any IP. But you're right. I think the rest of the kits, the base kit and the expansion kit, they do kind of fit into that Infinikey mold. The only thing that doesn't here is that Novelties Kit, but it's a really cute set. And I suspect that most people who buy this are going to end up buying those novelties as well, just because it really fits the theme. I think it looks really, really great. So a couple of people in chat have mentioned that they don't like the brown keys. Well, the good news is you don't have to use the brown keys. It's just
they are accents.
Yeah.
I think the idea is to theme it kind of around. You had the Switch, right? You were holding that up. These are the same colors? That's the idea?
Yes, it's the same colors behind the Switch. So you've got the kind of green and blue on one side. So you've got blue on this side, like shell blue, and you've got the green on the other side. And then the brown is kind of like the whole kind of feel of everything in the game. So, yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I'd buy this set. It's a little too out there for me, but I appreciate what ABEC is trying to accomplish here.
Oh no, I'm all over this. If this gets to group buy,
this looks like a you kind of set. I can see you going for this. I don't mean that in a bad way, Jay. I really don't.
Okay, sure.
There's never any winning with you.
I think it looks great.
It looks fun. Really, it looks fun and playful, just like the Ren and Ram set that is kind of a similar strategy. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm okay with this. I don't know if I'll buy it, but I'm okay with it. There's also an expansion kit, so this covers pretty much everything else you need. This is a little bit more a la what we're used to seeing from Infinikey, where you kind of have your 40s and your space bars and your ISO and your alternate commands and your extra F keys and stuff, all in one kind of kit. One kind of mega add-on kit is what they've been calling it.
Yeah, so it's the same for Grain. It's very similar kitting to Grain apart from the novelty. So the base kit is broadly similar, the expansion kit is broadly similar, and then this has just got the novelties on top as well. So, but I do think it looks really good. I really like this idea. I like the whole theme behind the set. Big fan of the game. It's just something that's dead easy to play. It's a no stress game. There's no losing at that game. It's not something where you've got to try and it's not like a PvP game or anything like that where you've got stress and stuff, which has its own merits. Don't get me wrong. I kind of like those games as well. Playing Final Fantasy VII at the minute, and no PvP in that, but PvE. But this is just such an easy game. It's like literally the last 30 minutes before I go to sleep, and the first 30 minutes when I wake up in the morning, it's usually Animal Crossing time. That's kind of usually what I spend my time doing. Just
Yeah,
half an hour.
the cool part about the game is like you could dedicate like as little or as much time as you want, and like you'll always get like the same level of enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, you can do 20 minutes a day and it'll be fine. Or you
fun.
can do an hour every week and it'll be fine. Or you can do 10 hours a day and it'll be fine. It's just a really easy game to play.
People, I love seeing so many people lately, and I was one of them until recently too. I was like, so what's the game like? Like, what do you do? Like, what's the goal? Like, can you... And people are like, there's no... It's Animal Crossing. Like, you just do stuff.
Yeah, you just do whatever you want.
I had never really played such a casual game or like this kind of experience until yesterday, and it was interesting. It was very eye-opening.
Yeah. Bearded Nut Ink says, "Can you really call it a game though? It's just not." Of course, it's a game. It has objectives. It has targets. It has stuff to do.
It has achievements, accolades, things like that. Yeah. I mean, it's a game. I mean, I don't think people are out there arguing that it's not a video game, right?
Although interestingly, my wife's been playing it, and my wife's been playing it, and she doesn't tend to play video games as such. And I said, "Oh, you're now playing video games?" She's like, "This isn't a video game." I'm like, "Well, it is by definition, it is." But she doesn't see it as that. So maybe it's kind of the whole Farmville kind of generation type thing that doesn't see this as traditional video games. But I think to me, it's just a different genre of video game, and it's just a little bit different.
Exactly. Also, quick shout out, we missed it, to Iwane, who gifted 10 tier 1 subs. So thank you so much for that, man. That is...
Thank you, dude.
What a guy. Appreciate that, my friend. And then Piot also subs with Twitch Primes. Thank you very much there as well. All right, guys.
Legends.
For real, dude. Everyone out here is legends, man. Let me tell you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that is a PBT Islander. Jay, very much looking forward to this one. You know what? I might pick one of these. It's going to be cheap, so I'll probably grab one. What do you think this base kit is going to cost? This is probably a sub $100 base kit for Infinikey, right?
Yeah, it's like a...
It's probably like a $95, maybe $100.
No, because it'll be a similar price to the grey and base kit, maybe it's slightly cheaper because there's a couple of keys fewer in this set, so maybe $90, and then the add-on kit probably 40, 45, something like that. Novelties I have no idea on because I don't know about that. But I wouldn't be surprised if you could pick up the whole thing for less than a whole GMK set, and you'd have twice the compatibility. So
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this is actually, you know what I might do? Maybe I'll get this for my girlfriend. She's been really into the game lately. She's been that 10-hour-a-day player lately. This would be fun.
I'm not sure I could do 10 hours a day on it.
I don't know if I could either.
I'd love to. I just don't have the time to do 10 hours a day.
Yeah. All right. Lang, what is Lang complaining about in chat? Did I miss your sub? I'm sorry.
It's fine.
I'm sorry,
12-month streak. Nothing. I get it. Cool.
I don't see everything in chat. I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Langlandia, for the tier 1 sub. 12 months in a row. You're always in my heart.
Did he really?
It was an hour ago, according to the mini feed, which only picks up like half of the actions that happen.
Yeah, if we're not paying attention to chat, dude, we do miss them. So we're really sorry, but we love you anyway. We love you.
Come on, we love you. All right, let's go ahead and move on though. But this is a pretty interesting project. Looking forward to that one. In the same sense of PBT vein here, we have an interest check by York Chan. This is Enjoypbt Fan or Fan. I don't know how this is actually pronounced, so I apologize in advance, guys. And I tried to look up a theme here, and I came up with like 5 different things. So I actually have no idea what this is supposed to be referencing. I do not know the theme of this, so I apologize for that, guys. However, the set actually looks quite nice, I would say.
Yeah, I don't dislike this at all. I think I tend not to like sub-legends and stuff. I think it makes things look busy, but somehow with the clean white, the nice blue, and the kind of pinkish red, this kind of works. This kind of looks good.
It does kind of work, and it does kind of look good. I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot to hate here. I think do
you know what I think lightens this up actually? It's the fact that the modifiers are the same colors as the alphas, and then you've just got accent keys around. I think that actually makes it feel less busy. Normally when we see sub-legend kits, they've got darker modifiers to alphas, and that makes it feel more busy because it makes it feel more crammed in and more hemmed in and smaller, whereas this feels kind of more open. I think that's what it is. It's very similar to how Royal Alpha looks better with the white mods than it does with the green mods for that reason as well. So I suspect that's why it looks a little bit more interesting to our eyes.
Yeah, perhaps. 10 Strong in chat says some of the molds look, or some of the mods look pretty trash. I don't know. I kind of disagree. I obviously a lot of these modifiers are very different from what we're used to, but I tend to like this sort of thing. So this is totally right up my alley. I could definitely see why some people would not like this though, but I like this quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't dislike any of the mods. I think some of the ones that I really like are the kind of like the Apple command keys, where it's got the infinite four corner loop, and then one corner's in pink and the rest are in blue. I really like that. Nice little touches, something we don't see too often. It's clearly had a lot of thought gone into it. But yeah, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. There's no right or wrong with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, these new legends are probably pretty polarizing. I would argue, but I feel like if it's something you like, you probably really like it, and if it's something you hate, you probably really hate it. I'm in the very much love it sort of camp. This set, like, to me personally, is a must buy. I will not be able to pass this up.
Yeah, I think ironically I'll be the same, and I'm not usually one that goes for these, but I will not be picking up any of the accent color add-ons because I think they detract from it. It looks far better in just that whole kind of white keycap with colored legends design rather than having the accent keys.
This enter, look at the enter icon. That's so sleek.
Yeah, it does look good, right? It's kind of like modernized legends.
I would say the Xbox backspace is probably the weakest icon out of all these. These all feel kind of like new and fresh, and this feels kind of like clunky and classic. Like we're used to kind of seeing the Xbox and like dated DCS sets and stuff by this point. So I don't know. I would like to see maybe the at least the short backspace changed a little bit there, but that's just my 2 cents. Obviously everything else just seems to flow like really nice to me.
Yeah, for sure. Some of the other things that I'd like is the fact that it includes ISO, which is always useful. Some of these kits don't always include them, but I also kind of like the simplified icons for like the TKL kind of cluster. So for things like print screen and scroll lock and page up and down, I really like the designs on those. I think it's really clever, different, unique. Yeah, there's nothing bad I can say about this set really, apart from I don't like the accent keys.
Yeah, that's pretty. I actually like the accent keys here too, which is like almost a first for me because I'm usually the guy that foregoes accents on almost every board. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I gotta make sure I keep up with this. The compatibility as far as like the base kit looks is pretty decent as well.
It's pretty strong. Yeah,
it's pretty strong. Yeah, quite a few things. What is the theme here? Is there actually a theme?
I don't know. I was trying to see what the logo was in the top corner of this, but it just says the Die Fan, and it has the two I believe Chinese glyphs, and then it says Biomaterial Lab, which is the designer behind it. But I don't know if there is a theme as such, other than it's just supposed to be a nice colorway, I guess. Unless someone can help us with an understanding of what Die Fan means in Chinese.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't need a theme. Obviously, I'm okay with that.
Doesn't have to be.
I do like themes as well. Pluto is saying theme is culturally mixed up. Title in Chinese, Japanese. Then
I was just gonna say.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say. I just realized that. Yeah. Because it was just when I read out the logo, I said it's got the Chinese glyphs there, and then I realized that the set was Japanese, and it's like that is interesting that they don't kind of align. But
supposed to be big fan. Wasn't? Oh, was Dai is like big in Japanese. Like that's, I don't know. Is that also a Chinese word? I assume it probably is. But I wonder if it means the same thing because I'm pretty sure that's exactly what that means in Japanese too. The characters are the name of plant in Chinese. See, that's what I got when I was trying to figure this out. I got it was like a root, like a shrub or whatever. Some kind of plant-esque.
Yeah, I wondered if there was some kind of extended form of Japanese that I'd not seen before, and those weren't Chinese glyphs and there were Japanese ones, but extended. But again, I have no idea when it comes to that kind of thing. My knowledge is very limited, so I could just be guessing.
Yeah. I don't understand the name or the theme, but as far as just the way the set looks, it's nearly perfect for me, and I'm excited for this. I also shout out to these are renders, right? These are not actual pictures.
I believe they're renders, yeah.
Okay, well they look fantastic, and I really like seeing them on the what is this called? The Square 60 and the Square TKL.
Mm-hmm.
Man, those boards, I really like those boards. All right. Let's go ahead and move on back to the GMK. Actually, well, first to the GMK territory today, since we haven't actually covered a GMK set yet today. But
Not yet.
Now we have quite a few to go through. Don't worry, we're not short on GMK this week either. So this first up is going to be the interest check for. Is this pronounced differently now? Now that it has a second, is it Minimall now?
No, it's still minimal.
Is it minimal?
It's just using two L's because you can have.
Are people going to default to calling it minimal too?
It's just minimal round 2 in my head. I don't know what other people are going to call it, but in my head, it's just minimal round 2. Whether they're putting a fun pun in the name or not, it's not mini mall. It's still minimal round 2.
Some people in the chat seem to like
the...
mini mall. I don't know, Jay.
No, that just feels cheesy. But naming aside, let's not digress. This is another minimal set. So this is WS1 and CR Black. So it's a key set we've seen before. It's also running in the same colors as Hennessy on drop right now, with some slight differences. So minimal coming back. This does have so the Hennessy set, if you guys remember, that has some Steve Zissou inspired legends, and also the legends are all lowercase on the modifiers. Here it comes back to more traditional territory. It puts the uppercase text modifiers on all of the modifier legends, so bringing it back to that kind of traditional GMK view here, as well as the original base kit that we saw previously, which is quite limited and quite minimal in design itself. There's very little support in outside of 60% TKL ANSI layouts. You can have multiple different bottom rows. You can put 65% and you can do HHKB, but there are no alternative accents or anything like that. It's very basic. That being said, there is a numpad kit if you want to add numpad to this, so you can add that for an additional cost. You can also use an additions kit, which gives you some of the functionality that was in the base kit last time that isn't there this time. So that includes things like UK ISO, which wasn't there in round 1. It was just basic ISO support. So if nothing, I'll be picking up this kit just for that UK ISO support. Also adds things like F13 into the kit, because that's quite popular now with a lot of TKLs. Also gives you things like step control, function keys, some additional shift keys, and some additional bottom row key for Mac support as well. So some different keys added there to increase compatibility. There's also the Obscure kit as well, which offers some 40% compatibility, some split basebar support, and it also includes the Alice B. Now, interestingly, I'd have thought that the Alice B would have been included in the previous kit, the Additions kit. To me, that makes better sense to have it there rather than with the 40 set, and you kind of it kind of just fits better in the Additions because it's not really a 40s key into the B key. It is more of an additional key in terms of like how we'd see modifiers in my head. So I'm surprised it comes there. But then there's also a Mac option, which gives you a few different command keys. So if you use a Mac, you'll be interested in those particular keys. It just changes the legends for certain positions. And then finally, there is the alternate kit, which gives you multiple different options for different accent keys, colorways, some different arrows, and also that Dixie X logo too. No multicolored ISO enters in here, just your enter for the numpad, interestingly, and also the ANSI return, as well as the escape keys too. And then finally, a kit that may or may not do particularly well, depending on how the group buy goes and how many base sets it sells. But there is a Nordic kit as well. So a lot of people in the EU have the original minimal set, but there is very, very limited support for EU languages. This is an aim to rectify that for both round 1 and round 2 buyers. And it may be that you buy this to supplement your round 1 set, like I'm going to do for the ISO kit, or it may be that you're buying this for round 2 because you weren't part of the original group buy or whatever. So definitely increasing compatibility for people there as well. So yeah, any thoughts, Brian?
I mean, I think it looks pretty good. We're gonna be looking at a $100 base kit once again, which I am pretty happy with. I think that works pretty well for this kind of overall theme. With minimal, I think it did really well the first time. It's gonna do really well this time. I'm pretty happy about it. I'll probably wind up picking up a set since I actually had to sell mine a while back, unfortunately. So I'm looking forward to picking it up again, and I'll probably actually pick up the alternate kit, sorry. I actually kind of like this. It kind of gives you a little bit of flair, a little classic RGB goodness potentially on your otherwise black and white set.
Maybe. I mean, I think if I was going to do this, so when I see those colors, the set I'm thinking of is the interest check that we saw from Enjoy, which is going to be the I can't remember the name of it, the Spectrum, the EBT set Spectrum. I think I'd just buy a GMK CMYK color kit and use those instead of those alternate kits. Personally, I don't see a particular need for them. But yeah, I can see that. The interesting thing to me is as well is why is there arrows in that alternate kit? I'm not quite sure why.
I'm pretty sure if I read this right before,
are they just a different style arrows? I'm looking at the base kit.
Yeah, these are what this is what they're referring as OG style arrows in the alternate.
Of course,
kit.
it's got the centered Dixie ones in the in the base kit. Centered in the vertical, not in the horizontal.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I know there's like a huge controversy going all over all these quote unquote Dixie mods right now. I don't know, man. I mean, nobody really has to use them, right? Like you can make your choice.
Sure.
So, I mean,
yeah,
which is kind of cool. And I mean, here they're giving you both, so it's like, you know what could be wrong? I personally I like the new centered ones, so I got no qualms about that. So looking forward to that one, and I imagine a lot of other people will be as well. Do you think this set will have any issues running, knowing that obviously GMK Hennessy just ran, and GMK Bleach, which we'll be talking about momentarily, is currently open for group buy right now, which is another black on white set.
Yeah, it's a different white on Bleach. So I see this set's direct competitor is very much Hennessy. Hennessy sold 500 sets in like 2 or 3 days. So that's a huge number of sets to sell in just a couple of days when this is this is about to run. So I don't know if we've got dates for the group buy on or not yet. When I was looking the other day, I haven't looked for a couple of days on this since the IC went live, so I don't know if there's any dates that have been announced yet. I can't see any. I think it says the dates are still to be coming soon, but I imagine it needs to wait for Hennessy to calm down a little bit to come back up. But I know there is a lot of market for the accent kits because there's a lot of people, certainly in the UK and EU servers, talking about picking up the Editions kit and picking up that Nordic kit purely for support that they don't already have. So it'd be interesting to see how this does.
Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt it'll do well. I'm curious how well it'll do with so many other black on white sets running in recent times for presumably when this launches, which I don't know if we have a date yet, but I mean, I imagine they're looking into the next several months, I would assume.
Yeah, I think the fact that there is clearly a lot of demand for these black on white sets shows that this is another one of those base sets that should just be available pretty much any time, like Drop's doing with the white on black sets. That and this are kind of counterparts. They're pretty much so common colorways that they should just be available. And whether that's through vendors or whether it's through GMK Direct or whatever that looks like, it feels like these kind of colorways, those two colorways in particular, and perhaps some of the other classic colorways like 9009 and Honeywell and things like that, Dolce maybe, they should just be something that's stocked by the manufacturer or certain proxies or whatever, because they're always going to be in demand. There's always going to be a market for them.
Hopefully tomorrow I can get an answer out of my guest there about that. That could be kind of interesting.
Big tease there. I see you taking that.
Big tease. One time big tease. Yes. But regardless, that is GMK Minimall. It is coming back, and it's probably going to make quite a few people happy. All right, sticking with the black and white vein here, like I was just talking about, the group buy for GMK Bleached is now open, and again, this is a black on white set, kind of like Minimall. However, this one uses a different white. I believe it's still CR for the black, and this one is going to use WS2 for the white, which is I think the whitest white GMK offers for stock colors.
Yeah, it's the brightest white.
It's quite bright. It is very, very bright white. And for some people, that could be really awesome, and for some people, that could be pretty awful. So it's obviously going to be dependent on what kind of white you like on your key sets, but this is going to be pretty interesting. I actually might pick up one of these as well, just because I wanted to see what a full WS2 set could potentially look like. So, in a similar kitting structure to something like Minimall, which we just checked out, this is also aiming for a 1,000 MOQ price of $100 base kit. So,
500 MOQ.
Oh, is it 500 now? I could have swore they put 1,000, didn't they?
No, and again, just before Brian goes any further, I'll give factual information on this one because I've kind of got this as a proxy on my store. I won't talk any more detail about it. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
I won't give any personal opinions, but I'll give you factual information. Yes. But yeah, it's based on 500 MOQ.
Okay, I'm thinking of a different set then. My mistake, guys. I think where I got that number might have been if they sell 1,000 base kits, they are actually going to be doing a giveaway of an Aki S, I believe is how it's pronounced. So a keyboard that we checked out an interest check a while back. It's actually this one here pictured, which is actually pretty interesting. So it has this accent bar on the top too. So giving away a keyboard if they sell 1,000 base kits, which is kind of interesting. And this is actually one of the reasons I was asking about Minimall and if you think it'll have trouble running with Bleached and Hennessy right before it. So it's interesting. But we are going to get a $100 base kit price here, which is pretty good. I mean, you can't really complain for $100 base kits, honestly. It's weird that you're not talking, Jay. I'm sorry. It's just
I can give some factual stuff. So it is $99. It's a $100 base kit. It's £99 because you've got VAT in the EU, so you have to. So it's £99, which is about anywhere between 108 and 112 euros, depending on the exchange rate on the day. But that's in line with other $99 base kit pricing. And I can say it's selling really well. So it has hit MOQ for all of the accent, the Num ISO kit, the Spacebars kit, and the Rama caps. They have hit MOQ. The base kit has not hit MOQ yet, but it will be made. So the vendors have already pledged to buy enough extras to make that. But it's well on the way to hitting MOQ anyway, even just being open a few days. So it's doing really well.
Not terribly surprising, honestly. I mean, people like $100 base kits, I feel, and I think all the extras here are pretty reasonably priced as well. So obviously it's a black and white set, which is is pretty meh to a lot of people and pretty exciting for some. But I like that they're including the kind of high contrast accents as well. You have your Num ISO kit. That's kind of a nice duo there. The Spacebar kit, pretty good. Your Alice B in there, very simple. I like the Rama caps here. These are like classic Rama XO caps. They don't need to be anything else. Just super high contrast black and white there. I love seeing that. Mm-hmm. And I'll probably pick one of these up. $100 base kit. I have a hard time saying no to $100 base kits, regardless of what the colorway
is. It's a good place to pitch a price point at.
It really is, because it makes me think do I want to buy even if I don't care about the colorway enough, I still might buy it just because it's a $100 GMK set. And I'm curious how many other people are like that as well.
I imagine there's quite a few, even in the UK and the EU, even though it doesn't have a lot of the kind of UK support in the base kit. And I think this is why we've seen quite a big jump in terms of the numpad and ISO sales compared to what we'd normally see. So the numbers are at the bottom of the thread. Devocal did update them earlier on today. They were slightly outdated, so it is a little bit more than that. But in terms of where we're at with the position from all the extras, it's right down at the bottom of the thread, Brian. At the bottom of the page.
Of the page, okay, sorry.
Yeah, in the comments. It's one of the last comments at the bottom of the page, sorry.
I hate to be nitpicky, but why can't this just be in the post? Is there a reason that people don't put them in the post and they put them in comments instead?
Because Devocal does them off his own back, so he just posts them in when they're ready, and I guess...
Why not?
I guess the designer hasn't decided to put it in the base.
Okay. My apologies. I forgot that the OP was not the same person as the one sharing the sales here.
Yeah, so Devocal is the guy that does all of the group by updates and numbers. He likes to harass people for numbers and put the updates out. He's really, really good at that, doing that. So, as you can see, everything as of the date of that graph, which it's dated the 16th, which was really the numbers from the 14th, I think, because when the vendors get around to updating the tracker spreadsheets and everything in the background. But everything in terms of extras, which we haven't fully decided on the numbers, but we know already that all of these are going to get made. So, all kits are going to be made now. which is great. So if people were on the sidelines deciding not to jump on until it had reached MOQ, well, it's as good as reached it now.
Man, a lot of people opt for these ramen novelties too. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, I think the reason for that is when I've been speaking to people, and again, I try not to give personal opinions here because I don't want to speak a conflict of interest, but I'm still trying to talk so Brian doesn't feel weird. But a lot of people have said that they'll actually go with many other key sets. It'll actually work with any black on white key set as well. Sorry, white on black key set as well, because it'll just work. It'll work with any white keyboard as well. So, those Rama X and O caps will go with other key sets and they'll fit on pretty much any keyboard. So, yeah, they're great accents for other colorways.
Cool. All right. Well, looking forward to this one. Seems like it's off to a fantastic start already. Let's go ahead and move on to our next one, which is another, GMK add-on kit this time. This is GMK Black Modi. A white on black add-on kit. So this is kind of meant to go alongside your white on black sets, and I assume you could probably use it on quite a few other things. He has it rendered here on black on white, for instance. But yeah, we're seeing kind of a trend here with a lot of kind of colored modifier kits, and they seem to be selling fairly well. So I guess why stop now is the kind of theme here. 150 MOQ, so that's pretty easy to hit. And $60 USD price there as well. There are your proxies.
Yeah, I mean, this looks great. It goes with so many different sets: white on black, black on white. It'll go with minimal. It'll go with bleached. It'll go with any other set. It'll go with your OG keycaps if you've got them. You put these modifiers. It's going to go with pretty much everything. It's one of those all-round good sets. You could drop one or two of these keycaps in. You could drop the whole lot in. Doesn't really matter. You can have a lot of fun with it. This is kind of like a must buy for me. In fact, I've already picked it up because it's something that's so diverse. It's something that just gives a little bit of pop to pretty much any colorway. One of the most interesting versions that I've seen of this is where someone mocked up and did a render with something like Honeywell, but they just changed the bottom row, so the whole bottom row was black, and with the colored texts, and that worked really, really well. I thought. Now I know you, Brian, don't like necessarily different gradients of colors and things like that, but I thought that worked quite well. So it's one of those things that just goes with anything, and you can kind of mix and match and stuff, which is really, really good, and I like to see that kind of thing.
Yeah,
more GMK set mix-ups.
I'm trying to come around to the idea of a set having a ton of colors, and I'm slowly grasping it. I did enjoy the look of Spectrum, like we were mentioning earlier, as well as some of the other more colorful sets that we've been looking at today as well. So I'm trying, man. This is just a little too much. This is a little too many colors on a board for me.
But you don't have to use them all. Just use
that's. I know. So you can't. I get the appeal, and I don't think just because of the way I feel about it that it devalues the set whatsoever. Because I do think that there's obviously a very, very noticeable market for this, and I think people should do it. The pricing is decent, and the MOQs are low. It's easy to mix and match. You kind of get a lot of personality. You can do a lot of accents, like you said. You don't have to use all of them. I think it's a very good thing. It's just not always for me.
That's fair. Yep.
Melda says you're going to realize you slept on Dracula. I might realize it. I preferred Nord to Dracula, actually. I didn't really
Same. I'm a massive fan of Nord. I really can't wait for Nord to run. Nord is kind of like a subtle version of Dracula almost, and it works better for me, does Nord. But Dracula was huge, and it will always be huge. If that runs around 2, it will sell just as many as it did in the first round, if not more. So yeah, it'll be a huge colorway either way.
Yep. So this group buy closes on the 10th of May, so you still have quite a while to get in on that if you're into these kind of accents. So there you go. Moving right along to a set that a lot of people have been waiting for. It's finally here. I think it's been, what, since 2016?
September 2016, yeah.
So this is September 2016. So this is 1 month younger than Top Clack, this interest check. So nice. This is finally the group buy for GMK Black Lotus. This is themed around the, of course, the ever-elusive card from the Magic the Gathering, which is the card game I used to play, actually, back in middle school, when I was just a wee lad. And, the Black Lotus was a very rare, but a very, popular card just because of how kind of renowned it was. But here you kind of get a key set version of it finally, and man, does it look great on that SSK replica.
Yeah, the Relic SSK.
Or the
Relic.
Yeah, Relic. Sorry. Yeah, that is pretty darn fantastic. So it's going to be a $125 base kit at the Key Company, which is your U.S. vendor. The rest of your vendors listed there. Let's take a look at the base kit compatibility here. So looks pretty decent. You do have some basic ISO, as well as all your standard usual stuff, 65, 75. Sangon, numpad also in there. You have quite a few accents as well. And man, this looks, the more I look at this set, the more I like it. And obviously purple and black have kind of been a thing for a while in our community now. It's not the first time we've seen these colors. And we were talking about this just the other day. Why is purple like the most popular color in this community?
So I have a theory on this. The purple is one of the most popular colors in the community because it's one of the most popular colors IRL for things. It's always seen as a color of the rich and famous. You know, if you go back into ancient times, purple was the color that was dedicated to royalty, for example. You know, purple and gold were the two colors that were dedicated to royalty because it was so hard to make purple dyes back in the day. And purple has always kind of had this thing as being unique and different, and a step above the rest. It's been seen as for the 1%, and that is still kind of feeds down and trickles down into the mindset today. So purple is still seen as a really rich color, and you know, I think there's that kind of whole mindset behind it.
Yeah, Talisman says it's the posh color. I can see that. All right, so moving on from the base kit, you do have this kind of alternative modifiers kit. So if you want more of a dual tone look, and you want just a little bit less purple on your board, then you can kind of get that with that kit. There's quite a few keys in it too, so that's a pretty nice alternative there. There's a Hiragana Alphas kit, if you're more into, I don't know, the weeb sub-legend sort of thing. And then there is, of course, a Novelties Kit. And I think this has more than one theme, right? I think some of these novelties are not actually from Magic the Gathering. I could be wrong. Oh, wait, no, okay.
So
Fearless Leader in Excel World. Okay, I'm not familiar with Excel World, but...
I don't know either. So I know of Magic the Gathering. I've never really played it, but I know of the influence from there. I don't know about what Excel World is. I have no idea what that is. I have to Google it.
So with that in mind, I know what some of these novelties represent. I'm very familiar with some of these icons, but I'm not really familiar with some of the other ones. So we'll just leave it at that. It looks like a pretty decent novelties kit. I don't really see anything glaringly wrong with it. Seems pretty strong overall. There's a 40s kit, a relatively small 40s kit, but still has you know, a lot of the more common things in there. That's probably fairly inexpensive, I imagine. Then there's also a Spacebars kit, about as simple as it gets. You just get the classic 4 Spacebars there. It's like there's 2 desk pads as well. There's kind of one of the more fitting for the Black Lotus theme, I think, which I like quite a bit. And there's also one that gives you kind of more of the Magic the Gathering icons, I assume, are what a lot of these, kind of the plains, island, swamp. I don't even remember. Forest, I think, is what that was. Then what was the fire? Was it mountain? It's been so long since I've played Magic the Gathering.
No idea. I know of Magic the Gathering. I never played it. I kind of missed that whole thing. Yeah,
that was like totally like your kind of timeline, I feel like, too.
Yeah, I feel like if I'd have known then what I know now about myself, I would have probably really enjoyed it. I've probably gone really deep into it. It would have been something that would have been right up my street. But I feel like I've probably missed that boat now, just in life. So yeah, it just completely skipped me by. One of those things that happened. I think OCM, One Creative Mind, I think he's been listening to that, Brian. That big Lotus is on the right-hand side of the desk mat, not on the left-hand side. So there's no chance of covering up.
Yes, finally, someone made a desk mat, which has a place where you can put your keyboard and it doesn't cover up the entire design. Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely fantastic. And obviously the other desk mat is in the same vein as well, since it's just a repeat pattern. That's pretty easy to play off of for you know, whatever you're putting on your desk. Overall, I think the set looks fantastic, and I have no doubt that it's going to sell pretty darn well. And actually, I haven't looked yet, but I'm curious what the numbers are so far. Obviously, I'm not going to ask you, but I'm gonna move over to the Key Company real quick just to see if they have it updated.
I can tell you the numbers are not. It's not doing terribly. It's going to hit MOQ. We think we're pretty confident in it, but it's not selling as fast as some of the GMK sets have. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One, it launched later on in the month. Two, a lot of other group buys. People tend to join a group buy in two phases broadly: when it first opens and just before it ends. Depending on when you launch, depends on whether you see a bigger impact at the beginning of the group buy or at the end of the group buy. I suspect that this just launched a little bit late in the month, and I suspect it's people have already spent their money for this month, so they're waiting towards the end of the group buy for this particular one. Is broadly how it tends to work. There's two types of group buy for that with key sets. It's either depending on when it launches, it seems to be beginning of the key set or the end of the key set, unless it's a Dixie set and then it just gets hit every single day. So depends on how you feel about it. But no, it's. I mean, trying not to talk about too much, but and give too many feelings. The only reason I agreed to be proxy on this one is just because of how much I love the way this looks. So,
Yeah, fair enough. And yeah, it's open right now. It closes on May 8th, so you still have quite a while to get in on it if this is up your alley. So yeah, make sure to check that out if you like that. Next up is something that's pretty topical for me as well. So I mean, obviously, we've been sitting indoors, isolated and stuff. A lot of people playing Animal Crossing, like I just started. But right before that, I actually just watched the new Netflix Witcher series.
Yes.
So this, I literally finished it just a couple days ago. So this
good, right?
this is pretty topical for me. It was pretty good. I'm not going to say it was great, but I think it was pretty good.
I think. Have you read the book?
I've never read the books. Full warning,
okay.
I've never read the books.
So whilst the TV show doesn't necessarily get across a lot of the stuff that's in the books, what it does is it's a really good bringing to life of those kind of characters that you've read about, and it does it in such a good way. So it makes some mistakes and there's some pitfalls and there's some kind of things that are way off and some things that are wrong completely. So please don't send me like 50,000 PMs people saying that I'm overselling the TV show. what it really does though is it takes this. Some elements of the story, but it brings those characters to life. So if you've read the book and you kind of have an image of how those characters look in your head, for the vast majority of people, it actually kind of brings that whole universe to life. And for that, the TV show is phenomenal. Even if it makes some mistakes and it makes some missteps and it's not quite perfect and it's quite bad in some areas, it's just really good to have it out there.
I enjoyed the TV show. I liked it. I watched it all the way through, and I liked it enough to where I think I'm going to read the books because of the TV show.
Yeah, I think that
I'm okay with it. Anyways, let's move away from the actual media aspect of this and talk about the interpretation on our everyone's favorite keycaps, GMK instead. So this is GMK White Wolf, and obviously White Wolf is kind of one of the kind of nicknames of Geralt of Rivia, the main character there, aka the Butcher of Blaviken. And yeah, so this is actually themed off of a few different things from that series. Let me try to find the actual text so I get this right. Colors are inspired by Ceres and Yennefer's eyes. I think that's the this kind of accent kit. But the actual the primary kit here, man, I read this right before too, and I still totally forgot this, and I feel stupid. Oh, here we go. So it's actually based on several of the characters, including Geralt, Yennefer, Jaskier, and especially Ceres. So this is kind of interesting. He's trying to tie multiple things into the set when the title would suggest it's more of a Geralt themed set. So that's kind of interesting to see. But how do you feel about the colors here?
So, first of all, I'm going to say I really, really like the set. Secondly, I'm going to say I think it does bear some similarities to things like Nines. You can't get away from that. It does. But it's no different to me to having different variations of Dolch, to be honest. We have different variations of Dolch with different coloured legends and things like that. Here, it's very much a cleaner set than Nines, I'd say. So Nines is kind of very much a beigey feel to it because of the color of the legends. This is almost a lot whiter and it looks cleaner because of that. That being said, Nines is still one of my favorite sets. I still use that daily, but I think this is very different. When you have them side by side, they're going to feel like different sets. So I appreciate there's some similarities there. I do feel like they're going to feel like different sets. In terms of base kit compatibility, it's pretty strong. You've got full set for ANSI, TKL. There's support for ISO, basic ISO supports included. There's HHKB, multiple different bottom rows, some accented arrow keys, all of your 65% keys that you could possibly want there. The only thing that they could tweak on this, well, there's a couple of things that could tweak on it, but the only thing that could tweak on it to make it better for everyone is adding in a second tab key, because then that would give you a second modifier set, because these modifiers are going to be compatible with so many other sets as kind of like an accent kit. You could put these two colors with a lot of different alphas, and it would work really, really well. So adding another tab key would mean that people could mix and match this set really, really well with a lot of other things, rather than it just being a standalone set.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because there is actually a second tab in the base kit. However, it's a 1.25 tab.
Yes, so I was gonna lead on to that, but I don't know if that's a mistake or not. I mean, maybe I should reach out.
I don't know. Yeah, I was trying to figure out before the show. I should have reached out before the show to find out. But I was trying to figure that out as well, because obviously these days the second tab, whether it's in the base kit or a supplemental alphas kit, has become fairly common practice, because it really does just allow you to use effectively 2 boards worth of GMK caps with only 1.5 sets. So there's a really good value oriented reason to do this, but. How many boards use this row 3 1.25U tab? Is this for a 40 thing, I assume?
I assume it is 40s. I can't think of anything that uses it outside of 40%. So perhaps it's just misrendered. Perhaps it's right there. Either way, I still think having another tab key in this base kit would benefit hugely, because then you've got a whole other modifier set that you can use with other alphas, and that could look really, really good. Moving on to the other sets, there is the Zerial kit, which offers accents based on a couple of the female characters' eye color, as well as adding some other accents in as well. Now, one of the things I do want to talk about here is there are some of the characters used here. So in terms of all of those accents on the left in the grey base color, and a couple of things like the wolf logo and some of the other ones. I guess the question here is how much of this is going to be taken up with CD Projekt Red around where intellectual property does cross boundaries. We briefly touched on this in terms of the Animal Crossing inspired set earlier on today. So I do think that this needs to be talked about and worked through, but I can't deny that I really, really love the set, and I really hope that all of this works out. But it is something that does need to be considered.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, you never want any kind of copyright or cease and desist issues. That kind of infringement is really unfortunate, and we definitely don't want that to happen. But I will say that I really enjoy the colors here, even though it is maybe a little close to 9s. But obviously, like you mentioned, that's not necessarily a bad thing or a big deal. And I think it looks good, man. It just looks good. And it's I'm invested in this right now just because I just finished the show. So I don't know. I'm interested in this. I'm interested to see where this goes. There's also the Obsidian kit, which is the this kind of spacebar kit, which has quite a few spacebars in it actually.
Yeah, it does have a few space bars because it's got the accent ones as well. The other thing that's worth mentioning as well is this does use all GMK stock colours, so the MOQ will be lower than Meridian's previous things such as Luna and things like that. So N9 with 2M Legends, if you're looking at the colours, and then DY and TU1, I think, is for the teal. So DY is the purple, and TU1, I think, is the green. Or maybe it's TU2. I can't remember if it's TU1 or TU2, but whichever's the darker of the two.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see where this goes. Hopefully they get any kind of legalities sorted out beforehand. I would hate the set to fail because of people not doing their due diligence beforehand. But I do look forward to the set.
Yeah, I mean, even if it doesn't end up with any novelties or anything like that, or even if they're changed and stuff like that, I think the set on its own will still stand, as a decent enough set. But I do kind of like the inspiration and the theme behind it, so I hope that they can do something with the copyright stuff on that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we'll check that out once again once it hits the group by phase, assuming it does. Next up, we actually that's actually it for our key sets, but we have a switch to talk about here, and I think this one might interest you a little bit, Jay, because I feel like you've been really into the kind of EVA 01 colorway scheme lately, and now you potentially have a switch to match that. So this is the interest check for the I'm going to butcher this. I'm assuming it's Shogoki, but I don't actually know how to pronounce that particular O. So Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, I do believe this is an EVA 01 themed set, so Evangelion, or not set, but Switch. So you kind of have your, I don't even know what to call this colorway, but it's kind of just known as like the EVA colorway now because, you know, we've had boards running this colorway. I think we've had key sets running in colorways like this or similar, and now we're seeing it in Switches. This particular color combination seems to be getting kind of popular in the community.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the source material, so I know it's Evangelion, or how you pronounce it, and EVA 01, and I know that, but I don't know what the source material is. I don't reflect back to it. But I love these two colors together. I don't know why, but I bought my Canoe Gen 2 in this color. I've got a couple of other boards in this color. I've got the SA Trouble Minds key set in this color. I just have a real soft spot for this colorway, and I don't know why, because it's really garish, it's really bright, but people seem to love it for some reason. It's my guilty pleasure in colorways for keyboards, genuinely.
It turns out you can like colors, Jay. You can do that. You can like colors, and other people cannot like colors, and like it's all okay, and we can still be friends.
Yeah, but, we can have different opinions and be friends. Who knew, Brian? Who knew that was possible?
I know, absolutely insane.
This is the internet, Brian. No, if we disagree, that's it. We can't ever talk again. You know?
All right, it's all over for us. It's been a good run, guys. But thank you for supporting Top Clack up till now. We really appreciate it. Anyways, on to some specs here. This one is going to use a nylon housing with a palm stem and polycarbonate top. So 3 different plastics here in theory for the entire Switch. Kind of interesting there. The spring they're going to go with is a 62 gram. I don't know if that's going to be gold plated. I don't know if it's going to be progressive. I don't know who the manufacturer or vendor is of that. But
I think we can assume it's JWK.
We'll probably assume it's that. But you know, sometimes people do source other switches for their or the other springs rather for their boutique switches, their recolors. It does happen. But this is going to be a JWK switch, as said here, and it is going to be tactile. So I think we can safely assume this is going to be pretty close to something like a T1 switch, which a lot of people have been pretty happy with anyways. It is going to come without lube, what I gather here, non-factory lube. So, you know, we've been seeing a little bit more of that lately as well. You know, people opting to go without that. I wonder if it's actually cheaper to do switches like that from the factory, because a lot of people are just going to re-lube them anyways. So I wonder if this might be like a kind of a new standard that we can kind of go on with some of more enthusiast switches, I guess.
Hopefully. I think there's a market there for both types, to be honest, because I think a lot of people in the community don't want to lube the switches themselves, and even factory lubed switches can be better than stock switches. So, you know, I can see that there's definitely a market for that kind of switch there, but a lot of us enthusiasts who are deep into hobby like to do our own lubing to our own styles with our own lubes and that kind of thing. So it's nice to have that option. I am slightly disappointed this is a tactile switch. The longer I'm in this hobby, the more I dislike tactiles, and tactile used to be my favorite type of switch of the 3. But I'm vastly moving away from it. So I'm kind of disappointed that these aren't linears. I really wish they were. But
I have a solution for you, Jay. Get some Gateron yellow stems. You following me here?
I mean, to you that would look the same. To you that would look the same. To me that might not look the same.
Okay, so here's what you got to do. Poke out your eyes. Okay. Here's step 1. Step 2 is panic.
Just call me Jocasta. No one will get that right. No one will get that reference.
Step 3 is always profit, if I remember correctly. So
yes, Or step 3 is ... and then step 4 is profit, right?
Oh yes. Sorry, it's been a while since I've gone for that. Anyways, back to the switches themselves. The MOQ and pricing is still to be announced, but I think we can kind of make some assumptions here. JWK normally has an MOQ of, I think it's 10,000 switches, which is on the low side.
It's changed now.
Okay, what is it now? Do you have the update?
I do. Let me see if I can dig it out of my emails, because I have been speaking to them. I think.
Okay. I wonder if the pricings have changed then.
Carry on talking, and no, the pricing hasn't changed, but the MOQ has.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find it while you're talking.
Sure. So if we are kind of looking back at past JWK switches, we can kind of presume that the pricing here is going to be around 55 cents a switch, anywhere in that 50 to kind of 60 cents range. USD per switch is going to be the kind of normality, the standard realm of JWK custom switches here. But yeah, it should be very similar to a T1.
Yeah, so I didn't want to say this until I double checked, because I couldn't remember if it was 30 or 36, but it's now 30k is the new MOQ since the beginning of 2020 is
okay.
We decided to increase the MOQ to 30 since the beginning of 2020. So there you go.
Sure, interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's not terribly surprising, I guess. 10,000 MOQ previously was honestly very low, and it's kind of cool because you can get so many people and get so many recolored switches out that way because you don't have to sell very many of them. But it's probably like logistically kind of nightmarish for them to do that.
Instantly, two different people have PM'd me and said, "Why are you emailing JWK about MOQ? Is there something coming that we don't know about?" Maybe
man, people, man, I don't envy you, Jay. People like you so much they pay attention to every word you say and everything you do, and they just always have an eye on you. I just fly under the radar. It's way nice. It's way nicer.
Yeah. Well. Okay. No comment.
No comment. That's fine. That's fine. Anyways, Jay's new favorite Switch coming out hopefully soonish.
I didn't say it was my new favorite Switch. I like the colorway. I have a guilty pleasure for the colorway.
It was a joke.
You are putting words in my mouth, good sir.
Put it. I'm gonna sneak an F in chat because sarcasm goes right over Jay's head.
It doesn't go over my head. It just
it smacks you right in the face, and
it gets me into trouble.
All right. Anyways, those are the Shogoki switches, and that's actually gonna round out our news docs. We're gonna go to our sponsors and talk about them for just a moment, while hopefully you guys start asking some questions. So now is when we're gonna start our Q&A section for this stream. So go ahead and start typing in questions in the chat if you would like us to answer them. Use the @TopClack tag so we can see them a lot easier. Really does help us out way more than you might think. And that is that. So first and foremost here, we have the wonderful Novelties, who has numerous things going on as usual. They have the really epic 7V keyboard group buy going on right now. That's the kind of flagship going on at Novelties right now, and I'm very, very interested in that one, like we saw earlier on the show. They also still have GMK Bushido going on right now, so this is Beep's newest design, and it's looking pretty darn fine, if I do say so myself. The RGB add-on kit, I do believe, is still open as well, once I somehow find it, or I don't, and then I look extra stupid on stream because it's not on the front page. Is that still going on, RGB?
Sure I think so.
Oh no, it's sold out. Okay, my apologies. That didn't end. That ended just the other day. Okay, my bad.
No, it's not bad. I missed that during the news doc. I could have sworn I'd seen it on there.
Jay, you don't make mistakes. Don't even.
You can take the blame for me if you'd like. That's fine.
I'm used to taking everyone's blame anyways, so just bring it on. What's one more person at this point? Anyways, back to the wonderful Novelties. Lots of different things in stock, of course. If you're not into those keyboard or key set group buys, he has desk mats, he has plushies, he's got stabilizers, all sorts of switches, pretty much any switch you can imagine. He's got adorable plushies. Look at this. I mean, come on, who wouldn't want to own one of these? Let's be honest. It's just freaking adorable. It stays on my desk forever. So yeah, make sure. I have one on each side of my monitor, and they both stare at me. It's almost a little creepy. But, it's worth it anyways. But if you are looking to buy things in stock at Novelties, you can use the promo code CLACK, one word, no caps at all, and that'll get you 5% off your total order.
Excellent. Okay, moving on to our second sponsor of the evening. It is Kono.store. First thing to call out is that they have got a temporary fulfillment halt on at the moment, but they are offering free domestic shipping if you order now. The reason for that is because they're moving warehouses. So please do bear that in mind if you're shopping with Kono in the near future. A couple of talking points to talk about today. So they do have Shoko Round 2 up there. I know there's some consternation about this, but it would be remiss of us not to bring it to your attention. So the group buy is up and available if you want to join that. There is some chat going on around how that's working, but you can see all of the latest position on that Keycap if you would like to. That being said, if there have run any recent group buys that you have missed out on that you would like to join, such as GMK Hero, GMK Copper, any of the cat sets that they've done, such as Oasis and things like that, they are all still available. You can still join and pre-order those, and you can get some pretty good pricing on them prior to them shipping out from the group buy. So do take a good look at those, see if there's anything that you would like to pick up from there. If switches are more your thing, then Kale Pro and Speed switches are back in stock. Again, they are on fulfillment hold for a few days whilst they're moving, but there is free domestic shipping for those of you in the US. So if you're in the market for those switches, please do take a look at those. And as well as that, if you're interested in helping getting anyone into the community, they've got a great range of low-profile wireless mechanical keyboards in stock right now, which is the Hex Gears of Gemini, X1, and Venture. So depending on what you want to do and who you want to get into the hobby or who you want to help support, join Mechanical Keyboards as a community. That might be something you want to consider for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So next up, we have the wonderful KBDfans, who has a few things going on right now. Starting with the Enjoypbt Kuroshiro Round 2 is going to be starting soon. So if you missed out on that, you're going to have another chance. I know that set actually went over quite well, sold quite well as well. So that's going to be on a lot of people's radar. Round 2 coming very soon. Also, it looks like well, it's actually just an IC, but Enjoypbt Cool Kids also coming in the very near future. And if you oh my gosh, is this sold out already too? The non Kuroshiro Gok white or black on white set?
I don't think it's run yet, has it?
I thought wasn't it up already? I thought this was available to buy. Oh man.
Oh, really? If it was, I've completely missed it.
Man, I don't know. That's weird. I could have swore that was actually available already. I don't know. Anyways, KBDfans has lots of other things in stock, whether you want switches, keycap sets. They got something for pretty much everyone. They have a lot of items and products that are kind of targeted towards the more budget or value conscious keyboard enthusiasts. So maybe if you don't have a lot of money, they have a lot of things you can check out there. Lots and lots of key sets and switches in stock. And if you're really balling on a budget, make sure to check out the B stock link. So they actually have 2 B stock links. So they have a B stock case area here, which is kind of hard to get to, but sometimes you can find really interesting things in here. And there's a little table here that corresponds. A lot of these are tofus right now, but sometimes they change. But you can often pick up cases or other things for very, very inexpensive prices, which is pretty nice. So check that out.
Absolutely. Moving on to our third sponsor of the night is the Key Company. A number of things to call out here. So first and foremost, Candy Bar Round 2 is now in group buy. That nice big image there. So if you like 40% with a numpad and you like it Southpaw or regular, there might be an opportunity there for you to pick one up. There's new colours, all new colours in this round, as well as polycarbonate editions and multiple different plate types, including carbon fibre and all sorts of other good stuff too. If key sets are more your thing, then GMK Black Lotus is now in group buy. It's doing okay. It's looking on track to meet MOQ, and it has all of those lovely purple tones that we talked about earlier on in the show. Shouting out to Langalandia, who's in chat. His latest key set, Infinikey Grayan or Green Grey, is in group buy.
You gotta say it the way you normally do.
Gran. There you go. As the word's pronounced. Then that's also in group buy as well. Also doing exceptionally well. Has met MOQ, significantly past MOQ. I think it's 243% or something silly. So all going to be made and looking really good too. If you want to spend something a little bit less, they do have the Creative Cherry Profile ABS blanks for just $24 as well. These ship pretty much immediately, and they're there. If you want to try out Cherry Profile, they're a great way to introduce people to the hobby in terms of trying out a new profile. If they've only used to OEM, for example, they can try out the Cherry Profile for such a low price that it's definitely worthwhile checking out and picking up a set. Or if you've just got a spare keyboard and you're working from home and your real one's in the office and you can't get there because of lockdowns, then you might just want to pick up some Cherry blanks for that purpose entirely. Finally, just a big shout out to the Keyboard University as well. So it's a one-stop shop for all of kind of different guides and setups and stuff like that on how to do different things and courses and all sorts of other stuff. So if you are interested in joining the Keyboard University or taking a look at all of the different stuff on there, it is growing constantly. There's new content being created by a lot of different people. So definitely check that out for guides on how things work. Even simple things like how group buys work, there's a good write-up for that there. And there's things about different types of keycaps and profiles and all of that kind of stuff. So if you want to learn something new or you want to help someone get into the hobby, that could be a great resource. And you're going to get better over time.
Absolutely. And last but not least, for today, we have the wonderful Mekanisk, our newest sponsor. They have a few things going on right now. They still have the Clippa T open right now. So if you were in the market for one of these, now is a really good time. There's also a polycarbonate version for this round too, which is actually $10 cheaper. So if you wanted a Clippa, but you were waiting for a non-metal version, here is the one for you. You can get your choice of plate with it, whether you want ONZ or ISO. You can get a PCB with it, that wonderful WT60D that I've actually been using and loving so much. Currently using one right now. And those are actually in stock too, so you can buy those individually. And he does still have some Duroc Ultramarine stabilizers coming pretty soon. So he has kind of teased those. I don't think he has them on the store yet. But if you're a fan of the Ultramarine colorway like I am, I mean, come on, look at how freaking gorgeous the Ultramarine colorway is. Then I'm really excited for those stabs, and I'm going to hopefully pick some of them as well. I also just recently did a very hilarious Type X build stream. This is Mekanisk Type X prototype, and shout out to anyone who watched that insane stream that I did. And yours was pretty historic too, wasn't it?
I wasn't drunk on mine, if that's what you mean.
You were,
but my build stream was pretty fun. We tried out POM keycaps and stuff, and it really was good fun. It's a great board for testing stuff out on and stuff for me. That's what I tend to use mine for, just trying new switches out and all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, big fan of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Apologies, I've got something in my eye.
It's all good. Shall I start the Q&A?
Yeah, let's start the Q&A. Yeah, I can still listen, I can still answer, even if I'm poking myself in the face.
Sometimes you gotta poke yourself in the face, Jay.
Yeah.
Anyways, Bearded Nut Inc. Starting us out. He donates 200 bits. Thank you so much, very much for that. Appreciate that, man. He says, some more bits for the great show, as usual. My rather busy Friday starts in a little over an hour, so I gotta go get ready. See you next time, guys. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your day. It's starting to get dark outside now. Should I turn on my lights?
It's starting to get light.
Oh, I have my main light off. This is gonna look so funky. I'm sorry, guys. We'll
okay.
Oh well, that's just top Clack quality. Easy peasy.
Production value.
Yeah, Nathan Kim has nothing on this. /S. All right, so Depleted Vespine is asking, are you ever going to grow your respective beards to ZZ top lengths?
No.
ZZ top lengths? Probably not. That's pretty long. I'm not quite that cool. So
it's getting bushier though, is mine. I don't know if you can see, but it is getting thicker and fuller, and it's got past the itchy stage now, which is good. So.
That's the worst, man. That's the worst. 10 Strong says GMK Wild. Any links? An island.
Oh yeah.
Oh, did we forget?
We should talk about that next week. Yeah, we didn't talk about. I have seen this.
It's open now.
I don't know if it's open now or not, but it's by Monkey 6, the guy behind Camping, who did the original Camping design.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I see that link. Is the set actually live?
I don't think so. I think it's next week, but it's not really had an IC. It's come from Matrix Lab as well, so it's one of those kind of Matrix style sets. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Once like the group buy thread or whatever goes up, we'll definitely cover it. Corpse Grinder, I think is what that's supposed to be, is asking.
Corpse Grinder.
Nice. Yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah. What's the deal with CRP keycaps? How do they differ from GMKs? CRP is, at least from
PBT.
what I'm aware, is by default PBT.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's different. So different material, obviously. It's gonna have a little bit of a different feel, different look. Might like it more. You might like it less. Yeah, definitely a little bit different sound. PBT tends to do a better job absorbing it, I guess. So you tend to get a little thockier sound, a little deeper, perhaps. Whereas GMK is obviously ABS. I think they're the same thickness, though.
Yeah, they're broadly the same in terms of profile and thickness. I mean, the profile's identical, but the thickness is broadly the same. But of course, it's die sub legends on PBT caps rather than double shot ABS. That's the main difference.
Yeah, absolutely. RI Chap is asking, will you get your hands on blueberry switches from Novelties? Yeah. So, were we supposed to tease that or hide that? I don't know.
I don't know. Mike didn't say. He just said.
So if I was supposed to, I know Nathan's already had some. It's not like a secret, right? Like he's sending some out to streamers, obviously.
Yeah,
So
he's posted some
I
answers
mean,
literally today, actually. So
yeah, Mike is basically the nicest guy in the entire community, and we wake up to messages, and he's like, "Hey, like, what do you guys want? Like, what can I send you?" And Jay and
yeah,
I were just like,
it is literally just like
uh.
Brian's not wrong. That is literally what happened.
That's actually what happened.
Got a message from Mike. He said, "Hey guys, I want to send you some stuff. What do you want?" And it's like, you got blueberries? What else
Yeah,
have
it's
you
like,
got? What have you got?
I
Right?
want H1 switches and I want blueberries.
Yeah, yeah. Can you give us some stuff for giveaways and all sorts of stuff? But he's genuinely really nice, and he does spoilers every now and again. Brian and I'll just get a random box through the mail, which would be the latest
Yeah.
switches to try out and stuff like that. And
Yeah, he just like randomly sends us care packages and stuff. Like nobody does that, man. Like he's a good dude.
He's a good dude. Yeah.
But yes, to answer your question, sorry for the rant. We are getting blueberry switches. I don't know if either of us are getting enough for a full build right away, but I do know we have some on the way. So we'll see what happens.
When he offered them earlier on today, he did say that he didn't have a whole lot of them. I think he's only got samples, so I don't think we'll get enough for a build, but we might get enough for maybe a macro pad or something like that to try out. But we'll definitely give our honest opinions, and as soon as enough for a builder out there, we'll be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw that Nathan got some. I don't know if he got enough for a build though. So if he didn't get enough for a build, chances are we won't get enough for a build either. But at some point we'll have enough.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of time.
At some point.
Yeah.
Either way, we'll give our honest opinions on the switches when we get them in.
Yep, of course. Depleted Vespine is saying, quote-unquote, custom switches have focused a lot on colorways and little on custom weighting, travel, and whatnot. Do you see custom switches making advances in those functional factors? I rant about this a lot on the show, and I truly believe that we're pretty much hitting the wall on the current MX format design. Like, there's only so much we can do when we're forced to use this specific format. And until we move away and like actually start doing more like magnetic switches and that Hall effect technology and infrared, whatever, like as long as it's not a metal leaf contact point, like it's more modern than a metal leaf contact point. So I think we're restricted in a lot of ways on what we can do with that. But as far as like custom weighting goes, obviously people have been playing around with springs. Progressive springs have been pretty popular in the last couple years. As well as the more linear progression springs have been gaining popularity as well. So, and we've been seeing a lot of new weights too. So if you go to Novelties right now and you check out their spring weight collection, like all those springs like are in weights that you pretty much never see anywhere else. So I think we have a pretty good range of spring styles as well in the community. As far as like travel, most people prefer a 4mm distance switch in this community, I feel like, and it'd be kind of odd. It'd feel odd to make anything longer, and pretty much anything less people tend not to like as much, or just think is a speed switch.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is we need to see some properly progressive spring weighting. So we've seen progressive springs for a while now, but we haven't seen anything that's truly progressive in terms of a really extreme value, where it's like 30 grams to start movement of the switch, maybe 50-60 grams for actuation, but then like 150 grams for bottom out. I'd be really interested to try some springs that could kind of give us that differential. That's kind of where I see spring technology going, and that's the big opportunity there. It might really help with tactiles, it might really not, who knows. But it could make some interesting typing differences and feels. As Brian said, the length of the bottom out, that shouldn't really change. There's kind of like a standard for that, and that's good reason behind it. Speed switches tend not to get much traction in the custom community outside of the gamers because of the shorter travel. It doesn't feel as nice. It's not as nice feeling. Anything longer would feel extremely long and would probably not feel nice either. So I think that's probably much in the broad space. Custom weighting, we've seen a lot of custom weighting. There's tons of different ways. You can get pretty much 2-gram increments of springs if you go custom out there, so that definitely does exist. But I think, as Brian says, the big thing that we need to see is more switches that don't necessarily use tactile leaves to make contact, or contact between 2 points in a switch to make an actuation. That shouldn't be something that we need anymore. The technology is there to move away from that. I'd like to see a big push to move towards new technologies in the next couple of years.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the hope, which is why I'm pretty excited for the Keystone keyboard. And I know a lot of people don't really care, or they're just going to sleep on that kind of technology because it's not like a custom or something. But this is the kind of stuff. This is where we're headed the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years in our community. Like, we're not going to stay on this 50-year-old technology forever. We're just not going to do it. So yeah, hopefully we'll see more advances in the near future.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. The more switches we have, the more competition we have in that space, the better for the community as a whole. It's a win-win situation.
Absolutely. 10 Strong asking our next question here. He's asking, do you think that the extreme kit splitting common in cat sets is a detriment to the kitting intent of having easily accessible mass appeal? A detriment? I don't know if it's a detriment. That's a pretty harsh term. I would say that when you have a lot of kits like you do in a cat set, for example, or a lot of SA sets even, it can be daunting for a lot of newer buyers that might not know exactly which keys they need to outfit their new custom board or something. So I think for some people it could be a little daunting, but I think to the kind of people that know exactly what they want out of a set, it winds up just working a little bit better, if anything.
Yeah, I think so. I think the benefits outweigh the negatives. So you're right, Brian, and the negative might be that people don't know which kits they need to cover their particular board. But the beauty of it is that once they've worked that out, they can cover pretty much anything, including obscure layouts as well. So it's definitely worthwhile having those opportunities available for people. I would strongly suggest we keep on that train, because the more compatibility we can offer, the better for the majority of people.
Yeah. With that said, it wouldn't hurt to maybe designate a really appropriate, all-inclusive cat base kit just to be safe as well. Langlandia with our next question says, what non-keyboard purchase are you most excited about? Either recently purchased, delivered, or on en route? I haven't really bought much lately. I mean, I joined I joined 2 key set group buys, I think, and that's pretty much all I've done lately. I bought a Dremel. I have a Dremel on the way.
Nice. That's a good tool to have. Yeah, nice.
I took your advice, Jay. I bought it specifically for the IDB60, so I could clean up that PCB, and so I could finally.
I should have done it before. I should have done it for you before I sent it. To be honest,
that's okay. I'll probably need a Dremel at another point in my life, anyways. So might as well just buy
it's
one.
It's a good tool to have. They work really well for a lot of things, case modifications, and all sorts of different bits. I think my biggest purchase recently was my coffee machine, and I'm still really loving that. It's just nice to have a proper coffee at home. So that's probably my answer to that one, because it does say either which non-keyboard related purchase you're most excited about. So that's probably my biggest. Oh, that's me. Hay fever starting already.
You are blessed, my child.
Thank you. I appreciate that blessing.
Oh yes. All right. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on some of these questions. Still scrolling. Talisman says, "Chat, my God, it's full of stars." Oh, I think I missed an inside joke there. Langlandia is saying, if you wanted an interactive online training for keyboard stuff, what would be the first topic you would want? Wow. Are you hinting at something?
I have no idea what he's hinting at.
I think he's hinting at something. An interactive online training for keyboard stuff.
I think that one of the big things that people struggle with once they get into the hobby is how to use QMK. So I think a really good step-by-step guide on how to map out your key file for existing keyboards would be really useful. A step to flashing and stuff like that, how to press the reset button, all of those kinds of things could be really useful. And I get that it changes from board to board slightly, but that would be really good. Soldering practice and best tips and hints as well would be also really useful, I think.
Yeah. I mean, interactive online. How exactly would it be interactive? I wonder. Because I mean, otherwise, what would be? Why would you do a QMK video when Merlin has an amazing QMK series on his YouTube channel?
So because it's going to be interactive, which means basically it's going to be Jeff sat there in a room, and whenever anyone types a question, he's going to live show them how to do it. He's just going to sit there 24/7, 365 days a year, 366 in a leap year, and he's just going to answer questions as they come in and do live demos and walk them through. And that's exactly how it's going to work. Mark my words, that's what he's planning.
You know, I wouldn't put it past him. He's kind of an interesting guy, and he likes to do interesting things sometimes.
Yeah.
All right. Rooster is asking thoughts on 7V mount. Have any ideas on feel acoustics? So this was actually one of the first topics we covered on the news doc today. So we talked a lot about our thoughts and our feelings on it there. So you might want to check out the VOD or just go back and watch that if you want to check out our opinions there. As far as ideas on feel and acoustics, it's hard to say. It's kind of a mounting system both Jay and myself have not tried yet, so it's hard to say exactly how it could go one way or the other. It's also quite possible that we will be getting a prototype to check out and build on stream. So if that is true, then, you know, obviously you guys can watch either myself or Jay put it together, and it's going to be pretty awesome, hopefully. And, you know, hopefully we won't mess it up too much. But yeah, that should be a really good time. Definitely looking forward to that if that's going to be a thing. Let's see. Wilson is asking, did you see the new Switch announced by TKC? I have not. Did they announce a new Switch?
I've sent you a link. So if you go into our little chat, you'll see a link in there.
I can't do it, otherwise it's going to screw up the screen cropping. I have to do it on mobile.
Okay, so there's basically some new colours of C3 switches. So there's the tangerines, which I showed earlier on. We've seen these before. Tangerine switches. That's one of them. There's also kiwi, which is green with a black stem. There's dragon fruit, which is kind of like a pinkish purple with a white stem. The kiwi is tactile at 67 grams and will feel like a T1. The dragon fruit is a progressive linear and will be at 70 grams. There's also a blackberry switch, which is all purple stem, purple housing, at 72 gram, and that's going to be an Aristotle clicky clone, which could be quite interesting. All TKC by C3 switches, which means they're probably all going to be JWK linears, but it should be interesting to see how they feel.
That should be kind of interesting. Yeah, it'll be interesting to check out the progressive and the Aristotle clone in particular. The dragon fruit and blackberry, respectively.
The progressive one is the one that jumps out at me. It also looks great as well. I think that looks great.
The kiwi will probably just feel like a T1. It looks really cool, though.
Yeah, I think the kiwi will be a T1. It'll be very similar to the Eva switch that we saw earlier on today. So yeah, be interested to see how these come out. I'll reach out to Jason and see if we can get some samples.
Dude, the color on that kiwi is wild. Like, that's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's all right.
It looks like a Jolly Rancher almost. It's really interesting. I like them. It looks nice.
I think the dragon fruit is the one that looks best for me. The tangerines, we all know how they feel.
Tangerines look nice, but it's kind of whatever at this point. We've seen them for so long now. But the other ones honestly look really unique.
Yeah, progressive linear and blackberry. After we've just seen the blueberry switches from Mike, I think it's probably a bit close on the naming, but it's very different.
True.
You know, being an Aristotle clone. So I'll be interested to see how they all feel. So I'll reach out to Jason and see if we can get some samples of these in.
That'd be awesome. I'm always down to check out some new switches.
For sure.
Mr. Petrov saying, my apologies, I missed the start of the show. Did Jay happen to receive any rose gold boards this week?
Yes, Mr. Petrov, you'll be getting some pictures tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Very nice, very nice. Ron DG also asking for our thoughts on the TKC C3 fruit switches. So, yeah, it's a little new to us, so we don't really have a whole lot of thoughts yet. I think they look pretty interesting so far. And, you know, I haven't been disappointed with a JWK switch yet, so bring on more. I don't care. These look unique. They look interesting. Rooster with another question says, I see Quakems has 8008. Does it look anywhere near renders IRL, or is it actually orange? Well, you're kind of asking the wrong guy about colors, but I will say that it doesn't look like the render the pink was a little bit more vibrant in the render. I feel like in the alphas, I feel like we're a little bit lighter. The alpha caps, not the legends, rather, were a little bit lighter. I mean, obviously this is terrible lighting where I am too, but like you can kind of see it there. I still think the set looks really good, but I don't think it looks exactly like the renders. No, I don't know if I'd call it orange though. I don't.
Yeah, my lighting's more accurate for the color of the keycaps. I think.
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
a lot closer.
My main light is off right now.
Yeah, so there you go. Hopefully that will help you see how it is. Interestingly, I think it works really well on this plum board. I wasn't expecting it to look as good as this on a plum board. I was thinking it wouldn't quite work, but
when you shared the picture the other day, it looked really nice.
Yeah, it works way better than I expected to. I just tried it on the off chance that it would look okay, and it did. So
what is this about orange though? Are people saying it looks orange?
It doesn't look orange to me. It's definitely pink. I don't look at it and think that looks orange. I look at it and see pink. So I don't have the full-on accent keys to hand. I don't think. No, they're in the other room.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it still fits the theme pretty well. I feel like it might not have been completely accurate to the renders, but I think it's still kind of delivered on the theme. I'm happy with it. Leglandia is saying, benefit is doing it yourself versus just watching someone else do it. I forgot what we were talking about.
I think he means in relation to his keyboard kind of website-y thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we can make fun of you all we want, but in reality, we're going to wind up watching it anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, I'll be one of the first people there. I'm like, yeah, take me through this, for sure. Cypher Sage is asking, how messed up is Jay's sleeping pattern? Very.
Oh, man. Yeah, my sleeping pattern is messed up.
Yeah.
Especially towards the end of the week. Last week was killer because we did a stream at this time 2 days on the trot, and I had to try and function during the day on both the Friday and the Saturday. Because for me, it's like 4 a.m., 20 past 4 in the morning on Friday now. So yeah, messed up.
Yeah. It's always interesting because there's usually quite a few UK peeps in the chat to begin with, which is kind of interesting as well.
I think everyone working from home has just made people's kind of timescales of what their day is change.
Yeah.
So I find that I'm getting up later and staying awake later. So yeah.
Yeah. Sounds about
Although
right.
All nighter tonight. That's the plan.
Upos with a kind of dual question here. He's asking, what's your favorite keyboard form factor? Then he also asks, what's your favorite sub 60 keyboard?
Favorite keyboard form factor is probably Exploded 65, so where the arrows and the right hand column are separated from the 65%. Favorite sub 60 keyboard. I'll give you two answers to this one. In terms of boards that I have in my possession, it's between the TMO50 and the Equinox. I'm going to give it to the Equinox just on practicality and usability reasons. And in terms of boards that are coming in interest check, the Kahal or Kajal looks really, really good. Really interested to see how that comes out.
Cool. I mean, for form factor, I'm pretty much ride or die, 60%. Most people know that. The majority of my keyboard collection is 60%. That's just what I prefer. I'm one of those weirdos that doesn't need dedicated arrows because I don't work with a keyboard per se. I mean, lately I kind of do, but before that, not so much. As far as sub 60 keyboard, I don't know. TMO 50, obviously a front runner. Equinox is a pretty good one. I think the Neuron looks pretty cool. I honestly like the Pearl quite a bit. From a usability standpoint, I probably bless you, Jay. I probably couldn't use something like the Pearl just because of the odd stagger, but I do love the way the Pearl looks. So I don't know. As much as I hate on those like silly, chonky, like super premium 40s, I honestly like the way most of them look.
Yeah, they look great.
So pretty much anything like that. Like I like the really outrageous 40%. All right. Let's see. Sirius-ish. I don't know how to pronounce that. Is asking thoughts on Rukia. Would you recommend any of the extras? So the Rukia was that Alice alternative, right? It was plastic though, right?
Yeah. So it was polycarbonate, and they did a Yeah, polycarbonate, as far as I know, they were going to do a UHM WPE version at one point. I think that's still in the plan. But they also did the forged carbon top version as well. It's actually back in group buy. We didn't include it on the news document today, but it is back in group buy. Is the Rukia right now? So they had the forged carbon top version up for a couple of weeks, and then the polycarbonate version is available again now for group buy. Overall, I think nice. Again, it's an Alice clone, so it depends on what you're wanting, but it's not a bad board. I kind of wouldn't mind one of those forged carbon tops. I didn't buy one, couldn't afford it at the time. With some other purchases, I think Mr. Petrov bought one. I'm going to see if I can swindle his off him and offer to build it for him. So yeah, I'll definitely want to check it out.
Nice. Did you get in on the FC65 with the forged composite top?
I did, yes. The forged carbon fiber top. Yeah, I got in on those. In fact, actually, so interestingly enough, there's a smaller side story because I like telling these sometimes. I asked 159 to do me a ISO version of it, and there's kind of been a whole back and forth on the PCB. In the end, there was two people who want an ISO PCB, me and one other guy for the forged carbon 65. And now 159 is going to do as the plates in ISO and fixed ISO layout according to our specification, and I'm actually going to send the other guy one of the Lodestone prototype PCBs because it will fit in the case and it will give us the layout that we need. So you'll have to actually have a Lodestone PCB in the FC65, the same as I will, to get the ISO support. So there you go. Nice things that happen and go around in the community sometimes.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, right?
Rooster TM is asking, thockiest switches at the moment. Tired of watching vids with blue Yetis with the highest gain possible. I want a straight answer. That's fair enough. For the record, I like typing tests, but I don't think anyone should ever use them as a reference for the way a switch sounds, or a board sounds, or a plate sounds, etc. It's just there's too many variables. There's just way too many variables. You can't get a clear, precise sound.
I think I'd say that about the question as well, because the thockiest switches. There's so many variables that make a board sound thocky or not. It's not just the switch; it's also the board, it's the plate material.
I would say the switch is arguably the least important part when you're achieving a thocky sound. The design of the case and the plate are gonna
affect the sound just as much, if not more. Yeah.
Even your keycaps are gonna affect it a little bit too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we had to pick a thockiest switch, what would you think, Jay?
I don't know. He said, he comes back and says on a brass PC plate. Well, they're two really different plates, brass and polycarbonate. Different. There's like worlds apart. Yeah, I don't think I have a straight answer for you. The best place to ask questions like this, because it all depends on what case you're going to build and what kind of how you're going to lube the switches will affect them as well and stuff like that.
Yeah, thick lube versus thin. Like literally everything matters when you're talking about sound.
I think this is a better question to ask in the Discord where we can have a proper discussion on it rather than us just spout off an answer. It's very difficult for us to give one size fits all answer for this because so many things can change sound, and what sounds thocky to one person might not sound thocky to another. Our kind of views on that are all subjective.
Quantifying thocky is a little tough sometimes.
Yeah, so I'd recommend giving us some more details if you build. Join the Discord, you can do that below. Chat to a few people in there. The community is really nice. People will help you out. Give us a bit more detail on what you're going to build, how you're going to build it, and we'll try and give you some advice there.
Definitely. And this is the kind of stuff that, like Jay mentioned, isn't necessarily conducive for answering on the show, but in the Discord, I will talk about this kind of stuff for hours because this is the most interesting kind of stuff in the community for me. All right. With that said, we're actually caught up on all the questions. So Siri is also asking about the new C3 switches. We didn't officially cover them today, but we did talk about them during the Q&A a little bit. But once they're a little bit more, are they in group buy right now, or is it just an interest check?
It was just an interest, and it was literally came out 14 minutes before we went live. I think we were actually on the show starting soon screen when it went live, when the page went up. So. Yeah, not enough time for us to react on that. We only found out about it midstream, so trying to disseminate information midstream is really difficult when we've got chat, we've got other things we need to talk about, we've got questions to answer. To try and pick up something new midstream is really difficult. As soon as there's more information about it and an interest check goes up, we'll talk about it there. And as soon as we go to group buy, we'll talk about them again at that point as well. If we can get some samples in the meantime, we will absolutely try and do that. I'll reach out to Jason straight after the show today, and I'll well, I'll pretty much demand some and see what he says. Be blunt first and ask for forgiveness later. That's my motto. That kind of thing.
That is your motto, Jay. That absolutely is. All right.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So the Switches, we will talk about the Switches next week because we'll actually be in time for that. When topics go live when we're doing the show, we don't see them in time because we do the news doc right before the show. So it's kind of unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. And sometimes we miss things, and we don't cover everything these days anymore as well, because that used to be something I really tried to do, was like basically cover everything. But there's just too much now, and a lot of the interest checks are admittedly kind of low effort. Some of them, maybe seem a little bit more memey, and some of them, I don't know, just probably won't work out. Don't seem like they're ever going to gain any traction. So, we've kind of been selectively choosing a lot of the topics that we put on here, but still, we still miss some every now and then that we don't intend to actually miss. So yeah, like I keep having people like at least once or twice a week I get a designer PMing me like, why didn't you cover my set, or are you going to cover my set this week? And it's like, oh man, like we're not trying to use this as a promotional material. We're trying to like actually talk about information and the products that people are putting out. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But we try to cover everything that we think like has a lot of resonance within the community, like stuff that'll like truly succeed and be amazing.
Absolutely, yeah.
With that in mind, I think
I am panicking slightly because there is a wasp flying around my room.
Is that what that is?
It came and attacked my lights a second ago, and then I have no idea where it's gone, and I can't hear it because I've got my headphones on. But there is a wasp somewhere flying around.
All right. Well, for Jay's safety and sanity, we're gonna actually take off for the day. We went a little longer than we were expecting, but it actually wasn't too bad. So,
it was quite comfortable.
Time. Yeah. So as far as upcoming streams, like I mentioned before in the announcement section, we have been doing some more build streams lately. Come hang out. We're giving away lots of game codes. If maybe you don't have a lot of money and you want something to do during all this quarantine and isolation, maybe you can come win a game. It'll be good times.
Speaking of that as well, just during the stream, One Creative Mind has reached out and sent me a ton more codes as well to add to the list. So thank you very much, OCM, for sending those across. We'll definitely make sure we give some of those away on the upcoming streams. In terms of those streams, I think you've got Behind the Keyboard tomorrow with a certain
someone that should have a lot of information that the community is actually really curious about right now. Yes. Behind the Keyboard will happen tomorrow. It'll be 5 p.m. Pacific, the same time as it's been so far. I'm going to try to keep with that time for now at least. But that's going to be awesome. I really don't think you guys are going to want to miss it, especially if you're a fan of GMK. So we're going to hopefully get a lot of information tomorrow. So
awesome.
We'll leave it there.
Yeah. I've got my build stream on Sunday. We'll be building at Borsdorff with Salmon Alps as well, so I'm really looking forward to doing that, and we'll compare it to the Brown Alps version. And then I'll also, on the same stream, I'll unbox the board I'm going to build next week, which is a prototype of the E8.5 from Exclusive. So really excited to show you guys that. We'll unbox it, and then I'll build it the following week, because I'm waiting for some switches to come in from Mike for that build. So yeah, really looking forward to that.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream as much as we enjoyed doing it for you. And yeah, make sure to catch me tomorrow on Behind the Keyboard. I'll have a fantastic guest. Catch Jay on Sunday at noon Pacific. And I'll have some build streams coming up soon as well. Once my Dremel comes in, I can get to work on this IDB60 that I've had just like sitting next to me for what feels like eternity. And I want to build it so bad.
I don't blame you. I would too as well.
Yeah, I also have my Southpaw full size, but Ray's looping the switches, but he hasn't finished them yet. So like, the two boards that I'm most hyped about building right now, I don't have like the final parts for.
Man. I need to chase Classy. He's got some switches for me for when the production version of the JO2 arrives. He's got my switches for that, so I need to chase him and get those in.
Gotcha. All right, so
still got my
also, oh, did you get tactile one?
I got both. I think I got one of each: the linear gang and the tactile, the long sleeve one.
I gotta be honest, the long sleeve tactile gang one is not very comfortable on me. I much prefer the linear gang one. Yeah. I don't know why.
Either way, I hope it comes in soon.
Yeah, they're cool stuff.
I'm gonna go chase them.
Yeah, you go chase them. Also, below the stream, before you guys leave, make sure you check the links below the stream. You can find our official Discord there. You can come hang out with us and talk about, Salvadoran food, or, your favorite Netflix series, or keyboards, if you like those as well. So there's something for everyone there. You can also check out our YouTube, where all the VODs get posted about 24 hours after the fact because of Twitch's terms of service. And yes, until then, until next time, until tomorrow, hopefully, have a good one, guys.
See you later.